Someone make it make sense.
Probably a couple.
All right, people. So literally, this is literally where we were when I was like, what? We got to go to the next live stream. So
my staff, if my staff could bring in juror 16. Are all the jurors here? We've excused juror 4. The stipulation.
Okay, so now they go off the record. So let's see what if we go live.
Lifted that out of the way.
So this is perfect. So we're just a tiny bit behind the regular feed, given all the breaks. And Lori's gonna start her cross. And she has a different suit jacket than yesterday. Holy fuck. How did she get that? They gave her more than one? Wow. Yeah, anyone that wants to let me know what happened with the juror, like for example, people that are tweeting it out that are in the courtroom, let me know. That'd be awesome because I'm only one person, only one squirrel. There's no sound yet in court. Here she comes. Welcome, Angel baby. There's no sound yet. That's not me. That's the court. Another juror was dismissed.
Forward, saw a patient on the floor to the right, proceeded to the patient to start an assessment and evaluation.
Make an assessment.
And then Captain Keller had already come in.
I'm pretty confident, yes, he would have been quicker getting off the truck and inside.
And so you did your assessment, and then what?
My assessment revealed that he was unresponsive, no pulse, no breathing. So I would have started CPR, started chest compressions.
Did you do that with his shirt on?
I would have lifted that out of the way so I could find the proper landmarks.
Yanni.
So you had said that you saw that there was 2 gunshot wounds. Is that correct?
Yes.
And then you saw that through the shirt? Or how did you assess that when you first entered? That's my question.
Once I'm doing CPR, I can see 2 bullet holes in the shirt. I can see that on the chest and on the abdomen. I can see the wounds.
3?
I'm looking
I
at
thought
the
they lost
chest
2.
and doing chest compressions.
Did they lose 3?
Okay. And then he had on what color shirt?
I wouldn't have recalled other than, I guess, the video yesterday.
No, there was another juror dismissed, wasn't there?
Colored shirt, I think we saw on the screen.
And so you had talked yesterday about the blood being more blood on chest, not pooled around your knees, right? Is that correct?
Correct.
And so with the dark shirt, was it hard to see the blood? I'm kind of trying to see what you saw when you entered.
I remember seeing blood on the chest. There wasn't. I remember not seeing blood on the abdomen.
And there were holes in the shirt, 2 holes in the front side?
I would, best of my recall, yes.
Okay. And when did you cut off the shirt, and how does that procedure work?
I continued doing CPR, chest compressions. One of my other colleagues would have cut that off, and knowing that the shirt maybe is potentially evidence, that's why I said to her, don't cut through where the holes are. So she could have cut down the side instead of on the top of the body.
And do you use like a special scissors or something for that?
Yeah, we have some trauma shears in our
A
equipment.
special scissors.
Okay. And who was that? Was that Phelps or?
I believe that was firefighter Kaczynski.
Okay. Kaczynski, that's one I didn't have. So who all was sitting there
Lori,
with you that was
She
on
can't be
scene?
making stupid comments. Like, so the most recent thing I'm seeing from Nate Eaton is from 48 minutes ago. So he hasn't tweeted yet, it looks like, since all this went down. So I'm not seeing anything. I thought they had dismissed 2 jurors so far, but also we're also keeping track of the jurors with Karen Reed, and I could be getting things mixed up
At that time.
Firefighter Fife would have been there.
Mhm.
Firefighter Kaczynski, the 3 of us, kind of like we saw in the
Thank you,
video or
Annie.
the picture yesterday. All 3 of us around the patient, while Captain Keller was standing back a little bit, like you saw in the picture.
Okay. You said that you had been a CPR instructor for 12 years. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay. And was that for the last 12 years or 12 years ago?
approximate dates.
5 years and
2004 to
fourscore-
2016. let's
Fourscore
say.
and 7 years ago.
Okay. And so have you taught people who have never done CPR before?
Have I taught those? Yes,
Right. And not just like people renewing their certification, but both.
correct.
Okay. How many people would you say that you've taught that have never done CPR before?
Never done CPR, and it's probably in the hundreds over that long.
This is
doing
really,
that.
here's what she's trying to say. She's trying to be like, look, you could have taught him how to do it, right? But which is really funny because they told them, they told law enforcement that they did see, or that, Alex did CPR. But it's interesting because by asking this, going down this line of questioning, she's almost conceding, not even almost, she's conceding the fact that they didn't do it, right? Is what I'm hearing, because she's like, you could have taught him. So is she changing her strategy? Oh boy.
Be familiar with how a first timer would react.
Yeah, you try to forewarn them
first-timer.
what to expect.
A virgin.
So these first timers, they have to be taught the appropriate place to place their hands. Would that be fair?
That is part of the course, yes.
And so do you show them, or do you just tell them in class where to put their hands?
It's a video-based system through American Heart. There's a curriculum that we would have been.
So there was no
following.
time to do this. Right.
So if you could only tell them like over the phone, that might be difficult for them to know the correct placement of their hands if they've never done it before.
I guess it depends on the instructions that the dispatcher gave. Ultimately, if I was telling somebody over the phone, you want to put your hands on their chest, on the lower part of the chest. It's that kind of simple, so to speak.
Okay. But without the video, if you were teaching a class and you didn't have the video, it might be difficult, right? For a bunch of first timers.
Objection, speculation.
Overruled.
Also, I think she's getting her strategies mixed up here because she's changing her tactic based on his answers. She's asking for it, but here's why. She's asking these questions that she doesn't know the answer to. And the reason is because she's straying from the path. Like she's straying from the path. Instead of going off of what really matters, she has these certain things. Again, her ego, it's points she wants to make. Because the thing is like, she would have been given his report. She'd been given his depositions, all this shit that they have ahead of time so that they have some idea of what the witnesses will testify to. And this is, and now there's another objection, but like, honestly, this is kind of a mess, like more of a mess than this so far to me is more of a mess than her other moments in trial so far, because she's changing, the thing is that, they can only ask questions. Of course, she's trying to also testify, but even in the attorney questions, we see this in every trial. Sometimes in the questions, what they're trying to do is also there's questions sometimes that are asked that are for the jury, right? Not for the witness. Sometimes the answer doesn't matter. They're asking it for the jury, right? And so that's what I think is happening here. But the problem is that these questions are contradicting themselves in terms of what she's hoping the jury will figure out. That's what I'm thinking so far.
If I was telling somebody over the phone, you want to put your hands on their chest, on the lower part of the chest. It's that kind of simple, so to speak.
Okay. But without the video, if you were teaching a class and you didn't have the video, it might be difficult, right? For a bunch of first timers.
Objection, speculation.
Overruled. You can
Oh,
answer.
Didn't you answer? Okay. Sorry. Can you repeat the question then?
Yeah, so it might be difficult. If you didn't have the video, it might be difficult, for a bunch of first timers to know exactly what to do if you just had to tell them middle of the chest, lower chest.
You could obviously show on a person, you could show on yourself.
If you couldn't show them and you could only tell them, could it be difficult?
Like suppose it's possible depending on the person.
Okay, that's right. So do you think that your CPR class would be fairly successful if you had no visuals?
Objection, relevance, speculation.
Yeah. Next question.
I got it, Your Honor. So if a person had never done it before and was just told how to do it, is it possible that they might not be acquainted with where to put their hands?
It's possible.
And it would also be possible that they might not do it properly.
That could be possible too.
And right now when you're teaching CPR, and I didn't say you are teaching right now, but if you're teaching a class, are they just doing percussions now? There's no breathing in the mouth. Is that correct?
It's going to depend on the level of the class. As far as the lay rescuer, people that have never done it before, that just want to have the training. It's evolved and we're teaching compression only. That is a form of CPR now also, just doing chest compressions.
And how long do you teach to do that for? How long of a period before you take a rest? Or
Well, it varies depending on if the patient is an adult or a child. There are different guidelines that American Heart offers. So in those courses, they're getting to learn information for adults and children and infants also.
Correct. Right. So for an adult, how long? Like
Correct.
30,
Like,
100,
you know.
150? It's been a while. So just wondering.
With an adult, they're also taught they need to call for help right away also.
Huh.
So that's a factor. Are they
Right.
alone? Is somebody else able to call? Can they call, put the phone on speaker, start, while talking to 911? And then they would just keep going until help arrives.
Abby,
So there's no timing, like you
I
take
just clicked for Abby. You're looking at her right there in the blue jacket. She's pro se. There she is. There she is. She's cross-examining this witness. And we're only on day 2 of the trial. This is the state's 3rd witness.
10-second break. You just do compressions.
Not for that type of level of CPR, there wasn't.
Okay.
No sob sit, but yes, pro se.
So it's helpful if you had someone there that you could like take turns, like I do 100 and then you do 100, because it's kind of exhausting, right?
Objection, compound question, relevance.
Compound and
As the
relevance.
compound
Okay.
question,
that
you can
was
re-ask the
2.
question. Well,
We're up to
I'll ask it in a different way. Go ahead.
We're up to 31. Candace, I have no
So-
idea. Earlier in so far, right, I've been able to kind of see what she's trying to get out. And again, a lot of it is really not relevant, but it's more for her ego. Here, I'm not sure yet what her point is because she's lost me. So, well, maybe we'll figure it out. Maybe we won't.
How long did you administer the CPR before
It's not stupid at
you
all.
did the flip over? How long do you think that was?
I mean, it's a stupid decision to represent yourself, as we all know, but she's done better. Everyone that has been watching this says she's done better than anyone else they've seen, like pro se. And I mean, that's what I think. She's actually really smart, but she makes stupid choices. Let's put it that way.
Before we rolled him to look at the back, is that what you're-
Correct. Yes, that's correct.
Killing people.
I
like
would
say.
estimate maybe up to a minute.
Okay. And then were you counting compressions? Is that what you were doing during that time? Or do you not count? You just do it for a certain amount of time?
I don't recall if I was counting. I mean, I was doing the chest compressions while waiting for the rest of the team to arrive and for us to continue assessing, see if we're going to continue to work the patient and utilize more equipment.
And there were 3 of you there.
4 total, but 3 by the patient.
Okay. And then you could take turns, right? Like trade off if you needed to.
If we needed to, yes.
So that'd be a lot easier than when you're just there by yourself. Would you agree?
Yes.
And do you know how long,
I think what she's trying to do here is justify why it was okay that Alex didn't do CPR, but she's missing the point because the point is that they said he did it at the time and he didn't do it. So it doesn't make a difference. You see what I'm saying?
how long after the rolling over did you started doing compressions again? Is that correct?
Yes.
That's what I had.
Yes, I believe so.
And how long did you do that for?
I would estimate maybe upwards of another minute
So maybe 2 minutes total?
during that sequence. Yes.
And was there another sequence?
At some point, we would have stopped doing chest compressions so we could evaluate the heart rhythm. That's on the heart monitor.
With the heart
And
monitor?
we can't be doing compressions to evaluate that.
Okay. And then you didn't continue compressions after the heart monitor at all?
From what I recall, I resumed again in brief discussion as far as what direction we were going to go.
And what were the results of the heart monitor?
There was no electrical activity.
And how long was the heart monitor applied compared to when you started the first compressions?
I'm not sure if I understand the question. Maybe you can reword it or.
How far into your treatment, I should say, did you guys stop and do the heart monitor?
I would estimate that the monitor probably was on within 2 minutes of making patient contact.
Okay. And how long does that take?
To do what? To put it on?
Well, yeah, to put it on, get a reading, and decide what you're going to do next.
It could take, you got to turn it on, open up a compartment to get the pads out of that compartment. You've got to open that packaging to be able to apply it to the patient's chest area. If the chest is wet, which there's some blood, you need to dry that so it's going to adhere more properly, read more properly. So you could be looking at 30 seconds to a minute possibly of working through that.
Okay. So this.
And did you have to do that in this case? Is remove blood to stick them on?
I would assume so, but I was doing chest compressions, so that would have been one of the other 2 firefighters kind of working through that.
Okay.
So then 14, right? Happy Annie. So that's what I thought. I must have had that correct then.
So I understand correctly. Did you said when you rolled him over, did you cut the shirt in the back also to see the exit wounds? Is that?
No, we only had to cut the shirt one time. That was when he was still laying on his back. You cut it down the side and that opens it up to where then you can remove it from the body, pull it off.
So you did pull it off completely at some point?
More than likely, I would say
Right.
yes. That's typically what we would do.
Okay.
For
You
anyone
don't
who's-
remember if you did that in this case?
I know that I didn't do that because I was doing chest compressions. So I would assume one of my colleagues did that completely. That's typically what we would.
Ask them, Lori. By the way, for anyone who's interested in the neighbor updates, I think he's now mowing his lawn. We'll see what happens.
do.
Okay. And so you're back to doing the compressions for the third time, and then you stopped that at some point. Was there another procedure after that?
No, at that point in time is when we would have called the patient.
And who announces that?
Ultimately, I remember our captain, since he's in charge of the crew, would be considered the lead medic. He has the most experience. He's also charting the call, kind of running it, kind of made that final decision.
And that would be Captain Keller. I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt you.
Yes, correct.
And then he did call it at, do you know what time?
It would have, I don't have it memorized. No, it would have been like in the charting that he was doing.
And who documents that?
He would have
that time?
documented
He would have
that.
done it? In preparation for your testimony here today, did you review the 911 call at all?
No, not in preparation for today. Not the actual audio. No,
No.
no, not today. Not for this.
What did you review for today?
I was able to look at the incident times were dispatched by Phoenix Fire Department. I was able to look at the paper documentation. I was able to see my testimony from Idaho. I was able to see my testimony with Chandler PD when they came to the fire station.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Hold on. I don't think, okay, for y'all, I have a good memory. I don't think the word Idaho has even been spoken in this trial so far. I don't even think they talked about moving to Idaho, which they could. I mean, in her opening statement, Rory could have maybe even been like, yeah, we lived in Idaho. What? I wouldn't have even noticed it, except that this is sticking out to me because I'm like, oh my God, he just said Idaho. And then it's like, that's not been said yet. Oh boy, we might have problems.
Dispatched by Phoenix Fire Department. I was able to look at the paper documentation.
Oh my God.
I was able to see my testimony from Idaho. I was able to see my testimony with Chandler PD when they came to the fire station a couple of weeks after this incident.
Now, if Lori doesn't notice it or do anything, oh my God. Did she, I mean, this could be her opening the door. I mean, because one thing can lead to another, right? His testimony from Idaho. That's enough right there. And obviously it has to be related to this case, right? Oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God. Oh God. If this had come out with the state asking questions, we could be looking at a problem, like a mistrial, maybe. I don't know. I feel like that is such a huge thing that asking the jurors to disregard it would not be a remedy. Like my brain is buffering right now because, and it's not his fault, right? She asked the question of what he reviewed. The thing is what he reviewed is relevant to this case. And he said Idaho. He testified in Idaho. Oh God. This, what's going to happen? Okay.
And what paper documentation did you
Almost
actually
got
take a look at?
alive.
It would have been the chart that Captain Keller documented.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Did
And
she?
what does that chart consist of?
She didn't notice it.
There would
Notice it?
be
Oh my God.
scene times, date, time, address, patient information.
Now, do you guys let me know? Do you guys remember the word Idaho being spoken yet in this trial here between yesterday and today? I don't remember hearing it.
Name, address, maybe medical history, things that we, a narrative of what we discovered, what we've done, treatments that we've done. The heart rhythm from the monitor gets attached to
Oh my
it.
God.
So that would all be in Captain Keller's report?
Correct.
And you did take a look at that in preparation for today?
Wow.
Yes.
And did you write a report regarding this incident?
No.
You don't have to document anything?
Just one person documents the call.
So for all
Remember, the jurors can ask questions. What if somebody says what happened in Idaho? I will die.
the people that were there from fire?
Correct.
So that's the total report. You just give your input to him and he puts it into the report?
Correct.
And that's the same for the other two firefighters that were along with you?
Lori
That's
has
correct.
Lori did not say anything, and she would have had to do something at the time. However, again, she elicited it. Had that been the state asking this question, I think it would have resulted in a mistrial. I feel very unless there's something I don't know. But again, Idaho has not been spoken, even not even in the context of I lived in Idaho with Chad or whatever, right? Like they don't know anything about what happened after this incident, right? It's like this case is about this case is about what happened to Charles in Arizona. And there's like the whole other extra story of what happened after that. It's so Murdoch-y, right? It's like it could come in if the door is opened, but the state cannot. It's like, no, right? That's problems. Oh my God. but Lori doesn't seem to have even noticed it. Wow.
They don't have their own individual reports as well.
No.
It's a poop moment. Yeah.
And
In Idaho, well, that's where she was tried and convicted for a triple homicide, along with her husband, Chad, who's now sentenced to the death penalty.
what time were you dismissed from the scene?
I mean, we probably only remained an additional 5 to 10 minutes. The chart would have that time. I don't necessarily have it by memory.
So how long were you
So,
at
like,
the scene?
that's why that's bad, right? You see why I'm saying this? Triple homicide, convicted in Idaho.
In total? Like,
At the trial, he testified at, and that just came up, testified in Idaho.
If I had to
Oh, boy.
estimate without looking at it, I would say approximately
Remember,
20, 25
remember, guys,
minutes.
we have to remember the jury doesn't know her kids are dead.
and then you were like the driver of the truck, right? Was that your responsibility? So you drove in and then did you drive out as
Oh my
well?
God, cop
Okay.
driving the-
So if you guys arrived around 8:41 or something like
Wow.
that, then you left
Oh,
around 25
God.
minutes later? Would that be accurate?
She didn't notice it.
I guess when I was giving that estimate of like the 2025, I was even including like our dispatch time from the time we're dispatched driving to the scene. So if you're wanting to know actual on scene time, it might be closer. Instead of the 20 to 25, it might be more of a closer to 20 solid. Like
20 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. And is that typical for a call?
it can vary depending on the calls.
Okay. So what other things did you do in that 20 minutes besides administer to the patient?
So I'm including in that time while we're staged around the corner, waiting for PD to arrive, then for PD to clear the scene, for us to drive to the scene. There's the time with the patient, and then there's going to be the cleanup afterwards. Removing our equipment, going outside. Maybe the equipment needs to be cleaned, restocked, ready for another call. So when we drive away, we're ready to respond to another emergency and then drive away.
Okay. So when you were done with the patient and you were going through that procedure of cleaning, were you in the house or did you exit the house?
We'll remove all of our stuff and we'll go outside, typically to the front bumper of the fire truck.
And then what do you do?
We have cleaning chemicals on the truck that we could get out to, clean our equipment up to reuse it. We've got cabinet with restock to be able to restock anything that might need to be. So we'll take care of those things to be ready to respond to another call.
Okay. And while you were out front, did you see Alex on the curb?
I did see somebody on the curb, or I don't remember if he was on the curb or standing, but I remember seeing somebody with an officer or officers. I don't recall how many people might have been together.
Okay. And did you converse with those officers at all during that time?
I don't believe so. I don't really remember conversing with any officers on scene. That would have been more Captain Keller, charting, documenting, kind of getting information from them. He would be able to answer that question.
Okay. So did you, was anybody in firefighting on your team, the four of you that were there, was anyone asked to take a look at Alex?
We were not.
Let's see. Have you spoken to the media about this case?
Can I object?
Yeah.
Relevance?
Yep. Yep.
What's the relevance?
Oh,
Relevance, Your Honor?
Yeah.
Just to know how many times he's given testimony?
I'm
oh,
going
Right,
to,
let's
maybe we can
hold on.
sidebar.
Yeah, I don't want to.
oh God.
All right, let's go on sidebar.
Oh my God. Oh my God. See, again, the judge also knows she's not stupid because it's like, we can skip past the sidebar. It's like, what's the relevance? Just like they would a regular attorney. Wow, though. Okay. Coming back from the sidebar. Holy fuck. This is so interesting because Lord, wow, this is not what I expected at all because she's actually doing it. Like they're treating her like a normal person. Wow, what a trial. What a trial. I guess I expected it to be more of a shit show, but it's in a different way, because I love a good shit show, but it's like, in a way, it's a shit show, but not in a normal shit show way, if that makes any type of sense. There's still a sidebar. Okay, so we're going to be live now, guys, with the court feed because they're at sidebar still. Wow. Yep, we are caught up. This is the court feed. Holy mackerel. I don't know what's going to happen with the Idaho thing. I mean, again, she elicited that and she seems to not have noticed it unless she wants to open the door, but I can't for the life of me imagine that being the case. Oh, maybe. That's a good point, Happy Annie says that's hard. She's trying to get Nate eaten on the stand. But like, why though? Like, why? Why does she want you? Why would she even want to get him on the stand just so he can't be in the courtroom? I mean, that's not worth it at all. You can't say anything good about her. I mean, he's so fair and unbiased, but still, it's like if you're fair and unbiased and you talk about what she did in Idaho, problems will happen for her, right? Wow. Wow. I mean, we have other things we can watch, but it's just a sidebar. It's not a court break. So I'm reticent to pull up, like, for example, Tylee's interview with law enforcement or Alex's interview with law enforcement type of thing. Oh, to show contradicting statements. Okay. Are you thinking that maybe when she asked if he did interviews, if it's because Nate Eaton interviewed him? I mean, if so, I don't remember seeing that. I feel like I would have, like, if Nate interviewed him at the Idaho trial. The other thing is, it could have been Nate. I don't know if it was her trial or Chad's trial, right? It could have been another one. It's a long sidebar. Holy mackerel. This is a whole other thing, though, isn't it? Like, again, and the thing is like, and Idaho is going to come up. Idaho is going to come up. I mean, unless it's like, maybe what if, like, for example, if he was interviewed by, say, Justin Lamb, that's in Arizona, it's a bit different. I mean, because here's the thing, right? If the jury starts hearing about Nate Eaton and he's at East Idaho News, again, it's like, what happened in Idaho? That's why it's different to me, right? If he was interviewed by somebody in Arizona, then Idaho doesn't come into play, because otherwise it's going to be like, why was this dude? I mean, like, again, that's why it matters. It's like, why was this dude testifying in Idaho? What? You know what I mean? Same thing. I think wow, my brain. They're taking off their things. Are they coming back? They might be coming back. Right. I mean, right. Of course. Right. But why is this dude's credibility worth risking bringing in all this other stuff? Right. Like, all he did was, I mean, you know what I mean? This is not the state's most important witness. It is not attacking the credibility of you don't, even if you're an attorney, you don't do that with every law enforcement officer, right? You pick and choose. You can't, it's just not, it's not worth it. And it's not going to go very far if you do it with everybody. I mean, in some cases it's necessary, like in Karen Reed's case, for example, right? Like, yeah, do that with everybody. But typically, I mean, this dude he's just not, this is only the third witness. It's like, if you're going to pull out that card, especially risking what it could lead to opening the door, save that for, like, I don't even know who it would be, but the state's most important witness, the one that's going to hammer it home.
Okay, just a few more questions.
I guess you're right. I mean, maybe she's a masochist. I mean, I guess you could say that for any pro se defendant.
Mr. Cowden, is it possible that if there was a wound to the chest, that doing compressions on that could cause other damage?
I suppose it's possible, but ultimately it doesn't matter. If the heart isn't beating, it's what you got to do. It's the appropriate treatment.
So would a common person who doesn't know how to do CPR maybe hesitate about pushing on a bullet wound?
Objections, speculation.
Sustained.
And also,
But
again,
you wouldn't.
it's stupid because he said he did it.
Can you repeat the question?
You wouldn't hesitate to push on the bullet wound if the heart was stopped?
No, I wouldn't.
And you would have to assess if the heart was stopped in order to do that?
Yes, you would check a pulse like we did. We would, use our equipment like we did.
Okay.
All this is going to is that what she's basically making the point here is that it would have been reasonable for Alex to not do CPR. But again, I keep saying it, say it one last time. How does that help you when that was the story that they told law enforcement?
So the two wounds that you saw when you first got there, one was in the chest and one was where?
In the abdomen.
On the right side or the left side?
I would be speculating as to the specific spot or area without actually maybe seeing documentation.
Okay. And can you tell me about I think there's a word for it, but I'm sorry, I can't remember what it was. The crunch.
When doing the chest compressions?
Correct.
I don't know if there was necessarily a certain word that I used, but you feel the sternum crack. I compare it to, like I said before, cracking your knuckles.
And how much pressure would you have to apply to get the crack?
That could vary, like depending on who you're doing CPR on.
Like on an adult male?
I mean, it could still vary depending on, the strength of the person doing CPR also. It could vary depending on the size of that adult male also. So I've never seen like any science that might say you got to deliver this much pounds of force or anything.
Right,
So-
like 400 pounds of pressure or something?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Right.
Okay.
You're
Great.
just gonna push
there isn't-
hard.
Hold on.
So-
Sorry.
Can't have you talk over one another. So
Yeah, Lori,
he's finished his answer. Go ahead and answer.
I almost feel like she's kind of on the fence there of like trying to flirt with him level. What do you guys think?
Next question.
So there's no determined amount of pressure, correct?
Just hard and fast. When it comes to
Sorry.
people
That's what
doing
she
CPR,
said.
for us, we're working as a team. We have equipment that can tell us if we're pushing hard enough.
Mhm.
For a person without that
Wow.
equipment, just hard and fast.
I will just say that the number of that's what she says. I've been trying to rein myself in, but the equipment, the hard and fast. It might rival even like the hard as a rock. To be honest, if you think about the back-to-backers here, because this is insanity, and he like isn't even listening to what he's saying, or how could he not be laughing?
Sure, correct.
Just hard and fast. When it comes to people doing CPR, for us, we're working as a team. We have equipment that can tell us if we're pushing hard enough. For
I'm gonna lose it.
a person without that equipment, just hard and fast.
Okay, that's fair.
How hard and fast depends on how much, what type of equipment you're working with. I'm gonna lose my mind.
And then they don't always get the crack, right? It's not always going to happen.
If they're doing it forcefully enough, they would.
Is the crack? Is that a euphemism? Is that something else?
So
Oh,
if they
dear.
didn't do it forcefully enough, it wouldn't.
That is possible, yes.
Oh my
But
God.
then when you come in, the professionals, and you apply the correct amount of force,
my
then
God.
you would hear the crack.
Yes,
And is that possible that happened in this case?
it is possible.
Okay, no more questions.
Great.
All right. Redirect.
Wow. Wow. Oh, she's wearing green. Like the same green as the other dude. Weird.
Does 911 have to regularly instruct people on how to perform CPR?
I don't know if I can answer that since I don't, do that since I'm not 911.
Yeah. Rescue a
Have
person.
you regularly heard while listening to the radio, 911, instructing people
So
on
Lori could have objected there, by the way, and she didn't.
how to do CPR.
We have had PTI information when we're responding to a call that will tell us that they are either performing CPR or being instructed to.
So you've seen in the past that 911 is prepared to handle individuals who may not know how to perform CPR.
Yes,
And that's to help try to keep the patient's blood moving while you're en route.
correct.
Blood, keep blood moving, guys.
You were asked a lot about trading off and other people doing compressions. At this scene with this patient,
Whenever
Charles
you're trading
Vallow,
off and they're doing
did
it
you
not
ever
as hard,
trade
not
off and have
fast.
someone else do the CPR compressions?
No,
You were the only one doing the CPR compressions.
yes,
Hard, fast, and deep.
Were you doing CPR while another paramedic or EMT was getting the heart monitor ready?
yes,
So this timeline of however long it took them
Sorry.
is in conjunction with you still performing CPR.
yes,
You talked about Charles's shirt being cut. If photographs from the scene show his shirt still around his neck, would that indicate that it wasn't removed from him?
after the cutting.
Yeah, so if
It-
police, let me ask you this. When you guys are done and he's called deceased, do you put his clothing back on or modify him in any way?
No, we would just take our equipment that's necessary to take.
So if his shirt was still around his neck, then that's how it would have been left.
Correct.
You were asked about whether or not you should perform CPR on a person who has a gunshot wound. Is there any reason why a person with a gunshot wound would not need to have blood circulating through their body to bring oxygen versus some other type of injury?
No,
Is the whole point of CPR to make sure that blood is circulating to get oxygen to their brain
yes,
so that they don't go brain dead?
yes,
And you said that ultimately it wouldn't matter if you cause more injuries
Man,
because if they're
guys.
brain dead, who cares, right?
correct.
Right? PFOX? Yep. All the parts do it. Yep. New command.
In your assessment, did you feel that no one had performed CPR on Charles Vallow before you arrived?
I had felt that, and I do know in my testimony to Chandler PD, I had stated that, or it's probably in my testimony that it was not efficient or something to those lines. But I felt like no, it had not.
Okay, you felt like no, it had not been done.
Correct.
Thank you. I have no other questions.
All right, I see at least one juror question.
Yay,
If you go
juror
on the
question.
sidebar, please, if you're a juror and you have any additional questions.
Okay, let's
pass-
see. We're going to jump up, jump around, and see what the juror question is. We are live. Oh, wait. Did they
All
not?
right, so you're gonna come on up here.
Oh. So whatever the question was, it was not admissible. They didn't ask it. That's what it is. All right, we're on to the next witness. This is witness number 4. Witness number 4, people. We'll listen to a little bit of this and then I gotta go cheat. We will be doing a full recap tonight.
All right, you're gonna come up this ramp over here and have a seat to my left.
Come up the ramp.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Sir, would you please introduce yourself to the jury?
My name is Kent Keller. I'm a recently retired captain with Chandler Fire Department.
When did you
Oh,
retire?
the captain.
April of 2022.
And how long did you work with the Chandler Fire Department?
32 years.
I'm still confused as to how. When I heard the word when I heard the word Idaho, I was like, well, this entire thing just blew up. And then I rethought about it, and I was like, well, it came from Lori, not the state. Crazy.
While you were there in, let's talk about 2019, what were your duties? What was your rank?
My rank was captain. I was an engine captain, so a company officer. I was,
Anyone was driving
in
the fire
charge
truck.
of a 4-person crew. We basically respond for calls to service and the different functions of a.
Did those calls for service include medical calls?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have any training in
No
the
training.
area of
No training.
medical treatment yourself?
Yes, I'm a paramedic. I went to paramedic school in 1991.
Very nice.
And can you tell us, is there or was there ongoing type of continuing training to be a paramedic?
Yes, yes, ma'am. There is continuing education throughout the year. You have to have a certain number of hours in each subject, and as well as updates as far as pharmacology or different treatment modalities. So yes, there's constant change.
And the difference between a paramedic and an EMT?
Well, an EMT is EMTB, EMT basic. A paramedic is an EMT paramedic. So the biggest difference would be invasive treatments. So you're trained with more ability to provide care, cardiology and pharmacology.
We're seeing the swivel chair happen here.
Fire gets a
Back chair.
call of a person who is shot. What is sort of the normal response? What does fire do when they are coming to a scene and they know a person has been shot?
Well, what they normally would do is you get the dispatch, you look on a map, you route yourself in, and then you would determine a safe place to stage while the scene is secured by PD.
Okay. And then how do you learn that the scene is secure?
In Chandler, anyway, we have interagency communication. So you're on the radio both with Phoenix Dispatch and Chandler PD, direct car to car or to Chandler PD Dispatch.
So you're actually then told by Chandler Police that it's secure and you can come in?
Yes, ma'am. They will give you a scene
We
safe.
talks, or we think alike. I heard that too.
When you arrive on scene as the captain, what is your role when you get there?
My role
I
is
just-
scene
y'all.
safety, primary.
I want to hear. I really hope we get more into the details of how hard, how fast, and how deep. That's what I'm
Great
hoping
scene
for. Fingers
safety.
crossed.
That's rule number one in everything that we do. And in other words, as I arrive on scene, I'm going to make sure with PD that there are no more threats for our crew and get direction to where we need to do treatment.
When you have this team of 4, how do you
team of
determine
4.
who does what?
Well, I mean,
We
that's
talk. I know. This is
an
great.
individual crew.
Literally everything they say.
Training, and some crews might have
Training.
specific jobs.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
Ours is more of a fill and flow.
Oh my
You
god.
come to,
Ah!
I guess I should say, one person is charting, one person is going to be the paramedic in charge of the call. So he's running the call. His job is bigger picture. And then that'll leave 3 people for hands-on treatment until a 2-person rescue would arrive, an ambulance would arrive to help if that were the case.
Wait a second. Is the ambulance in case the CPR was just too hard, too fast, and too deep that an ambulance was necessary?
Does fire ever respond to a scene and then advise that a person is deceased?
Certainly.
Welcome back.
And if fire response determines a person is deceased and this is potentially a crime scene, what does fire do at that point?
Well, fire then would
This is where we are at right now. From
pick
the
up
previous
their
witness.
gear and leave without disturbing that scene as much as possible. I mean, we have gear, we spread out our gear when we get to a patient.
Sprout the gear.
You know, we have monitors and drug boxes and trauma treatment boxes.
Leave it out there.
So as soon as it's determined that the patient is not viable, then you would pick up that gear and leave the scene. What you don't want to do is interfere with any investigation going forward.
And even when you are working on a person, are you trying to limit
Working on
impacting the scene itself
Oh God.
to the best of your ability?
Yes, our job would be to determine if treatment is necessary and then do that treatment regardless. But yes, what I should do, what the captain or whoever that paramedic should do that has the larger picture would be to try and minimize any disturbing of the scene.
But obviously, taking care of the patient is the primary focus, even if that causes the scene to be disturbed.
Oh my God.
Yes, ma'am.
At all costs.
Were you working on July 11th of 2019 around 8:30 in the morning?
Yes,
Do you recall responding to a shooting at 5531 South Four Peaks in Chandler?
yes,
When you responded or first went to this scene, did you guys stage like we've discussed?
yes, ma'am.
Guys, get ready. It's coming. Oh God.
And
That's
you advise that you're being provided
Getting close.
information from 2 different sources.
Yes, our primary source is Phoenix Dispatch. But yes, you are able to monitor Chandler PD as well.
Is Phoenix Dispatch 911?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So you're getting what's coming in from 911. Are they relaying information to you?
Yes,
Are things like whether or not the patient is receiving CPR something that is very relevant to you?
yes,
In this case, did you receive any information regarding that?
yes. We were told that CPR instruction had been given and CPR was in progress.
Does 911, in your experience in over 30 years, are they able to provide instruction for lay people who may not know how to do 911 or not know how to do CPR compressions?
Yes, they are actually certified to do that. They train and are certified to give that instruction over the phone. So
even though it's only verbal, they've been trained to how to present that to a person over the phone.
yes,
So you are advised that CPR instructions have been given and that CPR is that compressions are being given? Yes.
been a little while, but yes, I believe that I was told. I do know that instruction. I do remember specifically hearing that CPR in progress. I believe I remember. I would have to, but definitely the CPR instructions had been given.
Does knowing that a person has been receiving CPR impact the way you view a patient when you enter a scene?
Yes.
How?
Well, because it would make the patient more viable. If adequate CPR were given prior to our arrival, then you would hope that good CPR was given and that oxygenated blood was being pushed around the body, which would mean that make the patient more viable at that point.
When you go to a scene where you believe CPR is given, such as this one, was that one of the things, I guess, that was part of your decision-making as you are assessing this patient?
Yes.
Can you talk to us about when you entered this residence, what do you recall?
When I entered the residence, I recall thinking that the house seemed empty, like it was either being moved into or moved out of. So there was no furniture or anything. We had a clear path to where the patient was. And I remember thinking that there's very little in this room other than the patient.
Did you notice at any point some items around the patient?
The only thing I remember being around the patient was a baseball bat and a ball cap.
And do you recall at this point where those items were in relation to him?
Yes, I believe the baseball bat would have been on the patient's right and the ball cap above him somewhere in the room. I think the baseball bat was against the wall on his right.
Do you recall ever seeing a bullet near the victim?
Once we started assessing, I did see a bullet, a spent round on the floor.
So that's sort of a little bit into,
Candace, why is it
you're in the
miserable?
seam.
Oh, no.
Yes.
Wasn't something you initially recognized?
No, no.
While you're in there, was there any officers in the room with you or inside the house?
There was at least one officer still clearing the house, I believe, or at least going through the house. I only recall for sure one officer being interior.
Can you describe for us how the patient, how Charles was laying
Oh, it's hot. Okay, gotcha.
when you first observed him?
Yes, ma'am. He was laying supine. He was laying on his back. As we entered, his head was towards us, so geographically, I think north.
Wear sunscreen.
And so that's how he was laying supine.
Do you recall anything about his arms or hands where they were?
I don't. To his sides, I don't recall, honestly.
Did you observe any injuries to Charles, this patient?
Yes, he had evidently a gunshot wound to his center chest. Hole in the shirt and a small amount of blood.
Did you recall or notice anything about where the blood was pooling from that shot to the chest?
At that time, I did not, because we have to expose the patient, and the so he's a big guy, so he had a small amount of blood
Heather.
above his sternum. I'm showing you Exhibit 3. that was
Heather,
previously
look at
been
Nightbot.
admitted.
Nightbot.
Um,
You're gonna love
Does that
this.
look like,
If it adjusts a little bit, but
Okay.
you can attempt.
Yes, ma'am.
Heather, we took bets. When it went to her opening statement, we were covering it live, and I guessed 3, and I forget who it was. I think it was Iowa and who else? Maybe Happy Annie, but the other guesses were 5 and 6. I guessed 3, and she got 4 objections, and so we actually have a running counter that we're doing for her objections. But Nightbot's mind
are
is
you able to see
better.
that there?
Yes.
Kind of. Does this look like the patient that you were working on?
Yes.
And in this, do you see the blood pooling in Exhibit 3 there?
Yes,
Is that sort of what you were talking about?
yes, here in, around
It is.
the collarbone.
What's happening with
So
CPR
there's
these
a- there's
days,
a divot
guys?
here that
Would you describe this patient as a fit man?
he seemed to be, yes.
When you saw that pooling like that, did that stand out to you or seem at all impactful in your decision of whether or not CPR had been given prior to your arrival?
Ah,
Yes.
Why is that?
Because had adequate CPR been given there, I would have expected more blood possibly on there and perhaps a pool of blood under him. I didn't see any blood under him. I mean, when we first got there.
So when you guys first arrived, let's go back to sort of describing the scene. You said that you didn't notice any blood pooling under him.
I did not.
And is that something that you guys are cognizant of since you're going to have to get down and around him?
Yes, but we're more cognizant of it because it would indicate an exit wound. And obviously, the more blood there is, the more the heart was beating or CPR was being done.
Okay. So both the lack of spreading on him is one indication that kind of made you question if CPR had been given,
Yes, ma'am.
and the lack of pooling of blood underneath him was another sort of
Yes.
flag to you that maybe CPR had not been given.
And no one was doing CPR when we got there. Would have been the primary indicator to me. And I say that because if CPR were in progress by PD, if there were an officer there doing CPR, then they would have continued to do CPR until we relieved them.
If a person is shot and deceased and you start giving them compressions, can you still push blood out of those wounds?
Yes, ma'am.
CPR will
Now,
never be
at
the
some
same.
point when
It's ever. It's
father
done. Done
arrives
for me now.
and they are
That testimony was the most. That's what she said.
assessing a patient,
Ever.
do they, I'm going to put up exhibit 4 here. Do you need to try to remove any garments that might be around those potential gunshot wounds?
Like that's
Yes,
what you
would
guys need to
expose
know.
the patient.
And don't worry, we'll hear it again on the recap. The cross exam of the first witness of this day, the most that's what she says. It just was on another level.
Why is that?
Well, because you don't know for sure how many gunshots there are. You check for exit wounds. Some gunshot wounds, some entry wounds are minimal. You wouldn't see them. You know, you could go through a shirt and not see them. So you expose the patient.
I
You
have
have-
exhibit
You
4
have to take the clothes off, guys, to do it properly.
up here from body cam from a officer that's previously been admitted. Do you recognize who these people are and where this is?
Yes, ma'am.
And is this you?
It is.
So in this case, at some point, was Charles's shirt cut in any way to allow access to those gunshot wounds?
That would be the norm. Is at this point they would be cutting his shirt.
Do you recall from this scene how many gunshot wounds you observed to the front of Mr.
Here's the thing that's important. When it's an emergency situation and you need to get the clothes off quick to do the job properly, you take the scissors to it, the special scissors, as Lori said.
Vallow?
I believe 2.
Now, when you guys first arrived on scene, do you check the pulse? Like, what do you do when you first get there?
Yes, you would check for pulses, carotid pulse, and obvious signs of life breathing, so chest rise and fall as you are walking up to a patient.
And here's why. Because if the patient's dead, there's no need to go hard and fast or deep.
In this case for Charles Vallow, did you guys find a pulse?
No, ma'am.
Did you notice him breathing?
No.
Do you do any other assessments before you start compressions?
No.
So if he's not breathing and you don't see that he has a pulse, why begin CPR? Why start compressions?
That's what I'm
Because you don't
saying,
know
right?
how long he has not been breathing or not had a pulse.
Okay.
He could have just stopped those things moments before we got there, which would make him a viable candidate, or a viable patient rather.
And does, again, the fact that you believed CPR had been performed prior to you arriving also play into your decision to see
Yes.
if he's viable?
Yes.
As
Excuse me, Ellen.
other officers are doing compressions, what are you doing there?
So I am charting. So I am, in this particular case, I was running the call. So I'm going down a checklist, gathering information, listening to what they're telling me.
They all have their different roles.
And having them, I'm directing them throughout the call.
Okay. So at some point, are compressions stopped to assess the patient in other ways?
Yes, after a heart monitor is on.
Okay. And so are compressions able to be performed while someone else is getting the heart monitor ready?
Yes, compressions continue throughout until you stop compressions to check for pulses.
Do you ever want to check a patient who you see has gunshot wounds, such as Mr. Vallow here, to see if there's exit wounds?
Yes, ma'am, immediately. So they would have cut his shirt, taken his shirt off, rolled him, checked for exit wounds, and then rolled him back and continued compressions.
In this case, are you documenting your observations and others about what you observed when he was rolled?
Yes,
So when he's rolled, you're looking at his back?
back, right, from the back of the head to the back of the feet.
Okay. So he's completely rolled over so that you can see his back.
Yes.
Did you notice anything about Mr. Vallow's back that may have indicated he'd been there for significantly longer than you originally thought?
He did have lividity. So there was modeling, skin modeling and lividity. Once his shirt comes off, then you can see modeling on the skin and lividity
Modeling.
had begun to form.
Can you tell us what modeling means?
Modeling is
mean,
sort of a patchy looking
There's also the whole
skin
thing with the blood pooling, you know?
caused from hypoxia or not enough
Location,
oxygen getting to the skin.
You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying?
I mean, you can have mottled skin for different reasons, but in this case, it would be from his heart not beating.
Okay. And then you said lividity. What does
Yes,
that
ma'am.
mean?
So lividity is the pooling of blood, and that takes longer, much longer. So the blood will begin to leave the tissues and gravity drain to the lowest part of the body.
So when the blood isn't being circulated by either CPR or the heart, the
Mhm.
blood just starts to pool there.
Yes,
And so you noticed that as well when he was rolled?
yes.
Did you notice any exit wounds?
I did notice at least one exit wound, yes.
After you looked at his back, do you recall, I guess, when in this process you checked his heart monitor, when that was done?
I do not. This all happens simultaneously. You asked what these different people are doing. They're doing all of those things simultaneously. So the patient is exposed, CPR has begun, and the evaluation, the rest of the evaluation is happening. So timeline, it's on the heart monitor, I'm sure, but a lot of it happens simultaneously. That answer the question you asked that again? I'm
I
sorry.
believe so. Do you recall what the heart monitor results were?
Asystole, no
Asystole.
electrical rhythm in the heart. Flat line for,
Do you ever look at a patient's pupils?
yes, ma'am, always.
What's that for?
Because if it's just a brain function, if you shine light on pupils, they react. When the brain stops to function, hypoxia sets in, the pupils will dilate and remain fixed, so they won't change. They're non-reactive to light.
What did you see with Mr. Vallow?
They were fixed and non-reactive.
So we heard about the pooling of the blood on Mr. Vallow when you first arrived. As CPR was being done, did you notice any blood being pushed out of his body?
A little bit more. Again, he is on his back. Exit wound was in his back, but yes, we increased the amount of blood under the patient by doing CPR.
When you first arrived, did you notice any active bleeding?
No, ma'am.
What's the relevance of no active bleeding?
No heartbeat.
That sucks, Twiz. Look, this is what's happening.
Were you advised of Scott Cowden's information about when he started CPR, hearing the crunch or feeling, I guess, the crunch of him performing CPR?
Was I advised of it?
Yeah, did he let you know that?
No, but that would be expected.
And is that expected if CPR hadn't been performed?
No, not adequately. Again, big guy. So that the sternum the cartilage holding the sternum to the ribs breaks, it gives way. So, and that actually makes CPR much easier.
Here we go. Oh boy.
In this case, you came in, he wasn't breathing, he was pulseless, his pupils were dilated, the heart monitor said there was no activity, correct?
Yes.
When you looked at his back, you noticed both modeling, which meant that the blood wasn't moving through his body?
Yes, and modeling was on the front as well.
Okay.
So as that blood pools, so it leaves the tissue, that's gonna hasten the modeling part of it.
So you noticed that when the shirt was then cut,
Yes.
he was exposed,
Yes.
as well as when he was rolled.
Yes,
And then you also noticed on the back the lividity of the blood pooling there.
yes,
When you, I guess, obtained all of that information, did you end life-saving measures?
yes.
Who decides to end life-saving measures?
I do, as well as the rest of the crew. So Scott Cowden is also a paramedic, and he concurred. So then we call that in, and we cease life-saving function, or attempts rather.
When you cease life-saving measures at a scene where someone has been shot
Mhm.
and is now deceased at the scene, do you leave sort of any attached medical devices with him?
Equipment.
Well, as little as possible. So what would have been left on him would have been defibrillator pads,
Very good,
probably
Heather.
EKG electrodes, and probably a CPR puck.
What's that? CPR puck.
Now, when you arrived on scene or when you were exiting, did you ever notice any male outside that might have been with some police officers?
Oh, a person?
Yeah.
Yes. One person, one male.
And did you notice him when you arrived or when you left?
When I arrived, my job in particular is to kind of get a larger overview of the scene. So I did notice a person talking with PD.
And when you observed this person, did you notice anything that he appeared to be injured in any way?
No,
So no obvious injuries to you?
no,
If you had been asked to treat him, would you have?
of course.
Did you see that same person outside when you left?
Yes.
And when you left, did you observe anything about him again that he appeared to be injured in any way?
No.
Did you ever see a female and a female teenager at the scene?
Okay.
Where did you see them?
They were across the street from the house we were at.
Do you see that person in the courtroom today?
I see the adult, yes.
Keen, are you
Can you
talking
point
about
her
me
out and let us know what she's wearing?
or Twiz?
Dark blazer at the defendant's.
Oh, fuck. That's the first time that anyone's identified her in court in such a manner. Interesting.
Dark clothes, I'm not sure.
Okay. State will ask the record to reflect the witnesses
Wow.
identified the defendant.
Wow.
Gotcha.
Did you overhear her talking or saying anything?
I did overhear.
In case anyone's thinking hearsay, no. Remember, the defendant's own words can be used against them. So she can't stop this.
Her talking with the police officers, or someone said something about not getting invited to a pool party because of the commotion at the house or something. So
Oh my God, what? Hold
Do
on.
you have any?
Hold on. Just when you think it can't get any more similar to Wendy Adelson, this is just like her not being able to go to her stupid Stock the Bar party. Oh my God. Crazy, right? That's so Wendy Adelson. And it started with their last names ending with an I. And then it's also like, wait, they also like conspired with their brothers. That's insane. And like, but then it was like the comment that Lori made about the brother. Sorry, not the brother, the neighbors. And she's like concerned about what they think. There's so many things. And I mean, I'm not even talking about like hair color or age or whatever. I'm just like, this is crazy. They both had like fucking parties upcoming that they are like, well, now that's ruined. Amazing.
Formal interaction
Amazing.
with her.
no.
When you
Annie, you missed our new command for
sort
CPR.
of completed and left this scene,
Oops.
looking back and assessing it based upon your training, your experience, what you observed and what was done to Mr. Vallow at the scene, would you agree that Charles Vallow was dead before you entered the house?
Yes.
Based upon your training, your experience, what you observed and what was done to Mr. Vallow, would you agree that it was highly unlikely that anyone had performed CPR on Charles Vallow prior to fire arriving?
Yes.
I have no other questions, Your Honor.
All right, Cross.
Captain Keller.
Yes.
You were first on the scene?
The police department was first, but yes, we were the first fire unit.
First fire on the scene.
Mhm.
And can you explain to us what staging is exactly? I'm not really sure.
Sure. Staging, when there is some violent incident, the fire department, the firefighters don't have protective equipment for that sort of a scene. So we will go to a place where close to whatever the dispatched address is, that we would be a place of safety, but close, so that as soon as the scene is made safe by the police department, then we would enter into the scene.
So that would be like a couple houses away, or?
Could be a couple
Really?
houses, could be behind cover. In this case, it was gunshot was the call. So you want to make sure that you are a little ways away,
Okay.
in case
So
there was more gunshots.
Right. So you parked somewhere on the street, but
I knew
a
this-
couple houses down from
I
the
knew
house.
this is where she was
that
going.
correct?
Yes.
I knew this is where she
And
was
then
going.
part of that staging is you stay there until you get the
Incredible.
all clear.
Yes, until the police department says that it's safe to enter the scene.
She is still trying to justify that
And
comment.
you were
about-
wearing body cam that day?
No, we don't wear body
Oh, you don't
cameras.
wear body cam? Okay. You were just that was a picture from you on the body cam,
On the one
on
of the
someone
police
else's
officers,
body cam.
yes.
Okay. Okay. Do you use any instruments to obtain current body temperature? Do you
No.
guys have an instrument for
You,
that?
you only need the armpits,
No.
guys.
Would that help you give a more approximate time of calling a time of death?
It wouldn't help me. I'm not trained to do that. So we don't have that. It's
Also,
not within our scope.
We
of
learned that
practice to
thermometers are
determine.
not accurate
It's
either.
not part of paramedics training.
No.
Okay.
So
You explained the modeling being patchy looking skin
Yes,
because of no oxygen to the skin. Is that correct?
decreased, yes.
And so will that continue to increase? I don't really understand. Like it, would you say modeling is complete or in
Your
progress?
lack of
How does
understanding
that
is
work?
not his
I
problem.
would say in progress. As less and less tissue had oxygenation, I would say it continues to model.
So would you say it was in early progress or late progress? How would you
The thing is
estimate
this.
that?
How she could have
Right.
asked that question in a better way is to say, you know, and just so in case the jury is not quite so familiar, can you please elaborate on what modeling is and how it works? That's how she should ask that instead of I don't understand.
I could not say early or late, just modeling.
That modeling was present
Yes, yes.
at that point. So how long would it take for modeling to become present? That's kind of my question.
Correction, Haas
I
long.
don't know how long.
So it could be like
Different for different people, I
People.
suppose.
so it could be a minute, 5 minutes.
Yeah, he's already indicated.
Hold on. Rephrase the question. I'll allow it, but make sure you let him answer before you ask your next question.
Okay. So it could be just a few minutes, possibly?
Possibly. I don't know.
Okay. And then lividity, you explained as a pooling of blood. The blood leaves the tissues and goes to the bottom. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay. And you saw that as well?
yes.
And in your estimation, would that have happened soon? You know what oh, that's not a good question.
Oh my
In your
God.
estimation, that had begun?
Yes.
And was it advancing? How far?
He had lividity on the back of his torso,
So does lividity,
backs of his arms.
does lividity start immediately after the heart stops? Is that what you were saying?
I suppose it does.
Okay. And if you were on any kind of medication, would that affect that as well?
I couldn't say.
That's not the worst question because apparently he was on some sort of blood pressure medication. It's
And what
actually
time of death did you document? You were making the document, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And what time of death did you document?
I did not put time of death, but I put a time of treatment being ceased, and I don't recall what that time was.
I have to just say that the
on that
comment on the
report.
screen, 100% accurate right there. She can speak for her better than that is. So no one can speak for her better than
And
she.
you had stated that you were listening
That's why I think she
to
understand. One of many reasons.
dispatch on the radio, is that correct?
Yes.
So were you listening to the actual 911 operator speaking?
No, whoever is calling, if you call on the phone to a 911 operator, they would give that information to a dispatcher who would then dispatch a call with the pertinent information.
Okay, so you were getting kind of updates as it went along?
No, you get the initial call, and then if it were pertinent for us, like the scene is secure, PD says the scene is secure, go in, then we would get that. PD would call dispatch, and dispatch would then call us.
Okay, so were you aware at all that they had asked him to come outside?
No,
Okay. You just saw that he was outside, but you didn't know that the 911 operator had told him to come outside. Is that correct?
I did not know who he was or how he was involved in it when
Okay.
we arrived.
So on those dispatch updates, it wasn't saying like shooter is in-house or shooter is outside or anything like that? Okay, that wouldn't be.
Not to us.
That's what I'm saying.
That might be to the police department, but that's not something we would hear.
Okay. In this case, Captain Keller, do you know for a fact that CPR had not been given?
I do not know for a fact.
And do you know for a fact that CPR had been given?
I know for a fact that we gave CPR.
Prior to your coming in?
No.
No further questions?
All All right, redirect.
Which do you see first, modeling or lividity? When the heart stops and the blood is no longer pumping.
Modeling.
Okay.
I would expect to see modeling first.
And you told us, I think on direct, that lividity is something that you see much later.
Yes. I would expect that, yes.
Have you treated patients before within a few minutes of their heart stopping?
Yes.
Do you see lividity in those people?
No.
Do you see modeling in those people?
No. You see skin conditions change in those people, gray or cooling, moist, moisture, but not modeling or lividity.
So you're not here to tell us how long it takes for those to form, right?
I don't know.
All you can tell us is that it's something that you see in patients who are deceased
Yes.
and have been deceased long enough, whatever time period that is, for that to happen.
Right. It is an indication of the patient no longer being a viable patient.
And that was one of the things that you noted and used in determining to end any life-saving measures.
Yes.
Now, is the only way to know if CPR has been given to be there with the person watching them?
No.
What else can tell you that CPR was given to a patient?
Well, PD on scene arriving would witness. The best way would be witness CPR.
That's the best way. Is there any other ways?
Well, yes. Again, you would have an indentation in the chest. The sternum would likely be have been cracked loose from the rib cage, and there would be, in the case of trauma, increased bleeding. You do CPR or CCR sometimes when there's not trauma, cardiac.
In this case, were other indicators the blood that was pooling only at the neck and not spread out further?
Yes.
The lack of pooling underneath the victim?
Yes, and the mechanical action of doing compressions with a gunshot wound right there would have spread blood in that area as well. It wouldn't just have gone where gravity is.
So I'm just going to pause real quick to answer a couple questions. So from Backwood Beats and Outlaw Rhythms, why does it seem like she's still trying to protect her brother even though he's gone? I just don't get it. I think it's twofold. I think on one level, it's because she's still trying to maintain her own story in her mind about that they didn't do anything wrong and like in this case, right? Her whole thing is it was, that Alex shot Charles in self-defense or whatever. So it's like, if you even go with that, there's no one's questioning that Alex shot Charles, right? But also in terms of legally, it could be because of the conspiracy part of this, right? Where the conspiracy would be that she conspired with her brother. And so therefore, if she protects her brother, it's like maybe in a way protecting herself. That's what I would say about that. And yeah, as far as redirect, so one thing about redirect, right, is like on redirect, they can only redirect on what was brought up in cross. And then sometimes you'll have recross, which they can only bring up or address what was brought up in redirect. And sometimes you'll have redirect, which they can only redirect on what was brought up in recross. And sometimes you might even have, and I've seen it before, or redirect and recross, and they can go as long as there's something that's new brought up that can be addressed, they can continue on until the end of time. Basically, there's no actual limit on that. So yeah.
So where you saw is where you saw the blood pooling was where gravity, a low spot.
That
on-
was my interpretation of it, yes.
And you did not observe spread blood across his chest.
No.
Would ongoing CPR movement of the blood through the body have also limited the modeling you may have seen?
Perhaps.
Ultimately, is it your opinion that it is unlikely that CPR was given to this patient prior to fire arriving?
Yes.
Thank you. I have no other questions.
Are there any juror questions? I see at least one coming down. Please
Juror
pass those down.
questions,
Put on
love
the
it.
white noise first.
Okay, so they're gonna. So with the last witness, there was a juror question, but they were not allowed to ask it. They're still, we're just about caught up to live here. Now we're live. So they're still, yeah, you're very welcome. And that's just my personal opinion on as to why she would be doing it. You know, and remember their whole thing, Lori and Chad, was like, he was like essentially in their whole theory or their whole minds, like ordained by God, right? Remember the whole blessing, the patriarchal blessing was like that, that God had, you know, chosen Alex to be Lori's protector, right? And that was sort of their way of gaslighting him. So there's that as well. So there was also a Shanna Gardner hearing today. We will probably catch up with that case over the weekend, depending on what goes on with Brian Kohberger, because that's all starting tomorrow. And we've got Twiz, who's going to be there in person, boots on the ground. And I will not be covering those live when they're happening. And I know there's gonna be a ton of people who are going to be doing it live anyway. I'll be covering those in the evenings. And I'll be watching, I'll be watching, but I'll be covering those in the evening. And as far as tomorrow, and then if they go the next day, I did check. There's not any other documents out in that case that matter. It's just things that's like, it's sealed, right? So nothing else for that. And I need to check and see if there's anything else going on with Karen Reed yet. There hasn't been a whole lot coming out last I checked. So let's just see if there's anything else noteworthy there while they're at sidebar. And by the way, for those of you guys who are members and are interested in the orchid coverage, I should have, hopefully, if I can get it finished today, the video, the long anticipated video of repotting an orchid. I'm not seeing anything coming out for Karen Reed here. Take another look. So the last I saw, they had 10 jurors. So I'm not seeing anything else there. And then the other thing too, what we will do tonight is, of course, we will do a recap on this day 2.
All right, we have some juror questions for you.
Yay, good. They're going to ask them.
Was there any attempt to gain venous access to administer medications to aid the heart and functioning, i.e. ephedrine?
All right, so somebody on that jury knows their shit. Excellent. Whether they're an EMT or a doctor, listen, guys, that's
If
awesome.
no, why not?
It's not indicated for trauma. It doesn't, if there's no blood to pump or the heart has stopped pumping, increasing how fast the heart pumps with ephedrine would do nothing. So in trauma, it is not indicated.
Was ACLS protocol followed?
Wow. I will answer that question after he finishes with this.
Yes.
Wow. Somebody knows their shit.
Was there a physician patched in?
No, there's no patch required for cessation of treatment. It is part of our
I'm trying to figure out who this juror is. As these are from the same juror, more than likely. And I'm thinking maybe ER doctor?
our
Interesting.
ability and part of our training to determine non-viability.
Are fire department personnel allowed to call a patient's death?
Yes. However, time of death is a different thing if that's what you're asking. In other words, we are allowed to stop attempting to do life-saving treatment if it's merely a recovery. So does that answer?
Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have if the defense, first of all, let me check. Are there any other juror questions for this witness? I don't see any. The defense can follow up based on those questions if you want.
No questions. No.
All right. How about the state?
Just a couple. Sir, when would you use a veteran?
Well, if you had just asystole, but it was a cardiac-based code. If the heart had stopped due to some disease state, electric shock, for instance,
I'm thinking ER doc.
you would use epi. Are you saying epinephrine
Yeah,
is what
yeah.
you're saying, right?
If so, when you're looking at whether or not to push drugs to try to get the heart to restart, you're looking at the type of trauma that caused the heart to stop.
And how long it's been since the heart stopped.
So in a place where you said there is trauma, meaning like a gunshot wound,
Like a hole in the vessel, yes.
so that is treated differently than if someone has a heart attack and
Yes. Yes.
you were asked about.
These are all algorithms, protocols that are given for us to operate on scenes under medical control to whoever asked about the patch.
What is then the ACLS protocol?
You backwood, are you in
Advanced
medical
cardiac
school?
life support. And it's just, again, it's a flow chart. Are there obvious signs of death? Yes. Stop CPR.
So here, you followed that protocol and stopped CPR.
I'll answer that question as well here. but-
CCR technically, but yes.
You were asked
Well,
about
That's something
contacting
else.
a physician, a patch or something for a cessation of treatment.
Right.
Are there times where you do patch in with a physician?
Sure. You would patch en route, not for a code. You would patch en route and give a doctor, or actually it would be a nurse answering the phone, but you would let them know what you have and what treatment you have given and what treatment you are going to give en route to their facility to continue care. We are primarily to stabilize and turn over the patient, making it more viable for a rescue.
So when you terminate treatment because a patient is not viable, you cannot revive them, you don't need to talk to a doctor about that.
No, you need to call in that you did it. So there would have been a patch after that, but you don't have to call in to cease treatment.
So you don't need a blessing by a doctor to stop
A blessing?
treatment.
Well, no, we have the blessing through our certifications and through our training. So we are operating under a doctor's license at any time we are operating. So
Oh, cool.
that doctor or this group of doctors usually understands our training level and agrees
know, right?
to trains us to make that decision.
Patriarchal
yes.
blessing. as it were?
So ultimately, as a paramedic, you have the authority to use that protocol to determine when you are no longer able to revive or
Yes.
save the life of a patient.
Cease life-saving functions, yes.
And that's what you did here.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I have no other questions.
All right, you can step down. We're going to take our lunch recess.
Perfect
I'll
timing.
Remind the jury.
That's
Yeah,
perfect timing. Perfect timing. Okay. So because what we will do is tonight when we do our recap, we will pick up. We will recap the cross-examination for the first witness of the day with all of that's what she says. And then we will recap the rest of the day. That works out perfectly because they're going to lunch. Now we are going to answer some of these questions. Okay. First question. Backwood beats and outlaw rhythms. I can't but wonder, will this eventually come back around to the most chilling question of all? Where are the children now, or are the prosecutors restricted from visiting prior bad acts? So we actually talked about this a little bit earlier. I think it was before you got here. But yes, they absolutely, 404B people, 404B, they cannot bring up the prior bad acts. And the only way that it could come in, so the jury has no idea what happened to the children. The only way it could potentially come in is if the defendant opens the door, which is why I freaked out when she was asking, again, this was the first witness of the day, and she asked him a question about what he reviewed in preparation for his testimony, and he was listing things off. And one of the things he reviewed was his testimony from Idaho. And I died because it was the first time that word has come in that I recall, and we've watched everything so far. No one said the word Idaho. And like I pointed out, even in opening statements, it wasn't even like mentioned that Lori ever lived in Idaho. Idaho did not come up at all. And so that's why the I word, I was like, whoa, he said Idaho. And I thought, oh my God, is this all going to blow up? Because if that had been the state that was asking that question and that was the answer, I mean, I don't know that Lori would have known what to do, but had she had or a regular case with with a regular attorney, a mistrial right there. I don't think there's any way around that. I don't think there's any curative instruction that could be given to the jury, because the jury heard testify in Idaho and they know it has to be related to this case, because the question was, what did you read in preparation for testifying here? So, but Lori didn't seem to notice it. I couldn't believe it. Lori, and we'll watch that again. It'll be on the recap because that's that same witness with all the that's what she says. So I couldn't fucking believe it. She didn't seem to notice it. So that's why I actually just was making the thumbnail for tonight's live stream. And I mean, like, the question I have is, did Lori open the door there? I mean, I don't know what's going to happen. But he said Idaho. And the other thing was, I was thinking, and actually there was a juror question and they weren't allowed to ask it. I thought to myself, is there going to be a juror question? Wait, what about Idaho? What happened in Idaho? Right. And if a juror asked that question, that could be, I don't know if that was the question, right? But whatever the question was admissible. He wasn't allowed to ask it. And maybe that was the question. Oh man, it'll be really interesting if, when we hear from Nate Eaton, if he was able to hear any of that or get an idea as to what was going on with that. I mean, but that's crazy. The word was said, that is out there. The jury heard that testifying in Idaho. But yes, the prosecution absolutely cannot bring that up. And again, Murdoch is a great example, right? Because the way that ended up coming in with the drugs and the side of the road and the financial crimes and all that was because the defense opened the door. And so they had many lengthy, it was the trial within a trial, and the 404B. First there was 403 and then there was 404B evaluations. And it all came in. It all came in because the defense opened the door. So hopefully that answers that question. But great question that, and again, it's also too, right? The jury does not know what happened to the kids, and it's going to be a thing because they're going to wonder why the kids are not testifying, right? Because the kids are witnesses. I guarantee you the jurors are thinking that question is going to be answered, but eventually it's going to get to the point where it's wait, where are the kids? Especially when, if they do play any of the law enforcement interviews, like Alex's interview or Lori's or Tylee's, it's going to be really interesting. And the other thing is, we had a little whiff of this earlier where Lori almost seems like she doesn't care if it comes in, because she mentioned she was asking a question about speaking with a reporter. And if she's talking about Nate Eaton, that right there is another Idaho, right? But if she was talking about Justin Lum, in Arizona, well, then that's different. But anyway, it's just crazy. We're going to have to see what happens. And then the other question I was going to answer here, where was it? Okay, official was asking, they would report a casualty and a coroner determines the time or just the cause of death. Okay, coroners are an elected official. They don't have to have any medical training, like again, Murdoch. A coroner anywhere, if not all jurisdictions have coroners, okay? Any jurisdiction is going to have either a coroner or a medical examiner. We'll talk more about medical examiner in a second. But a coroner, they just determine time of death. That's it. Not cause, not manner, just the time. That's it. Now, in jurisdictions where they have a coroner and not an ME, medical examiner, they would have the forensic pathologist who they would bring in. They pay them. They'd be a third party. Forensic pathologists work at a hospital. They would have a forensic pathologist to determine cause and manner of death. Now, in other jurisdictions where you have a medical examiner and not a coroner, then the medical examiner would determine cause and manner of death and also probably the time as well. The medical examiners are forensic pathologists, so their training is the same. The only difference is a medical examiner is a title or a position given from being hired by the government. So if you're a forensic pathologist, you can be a forensic pathologist working at a hospital, or you could be a forensic pathologist who gets hired by the government and then you become a medical examiner because that is a government title, if you will, hired by the government. So hopefully that makes sense about that case. Coroners, it's really funny because people stop coroners. I never really knew that coroners were really a joke until Murdoch came along, and then we dove really deep into what a coroner is and what the whole thing. It's one of those. It's sort of like a what's the word I'm looking for? A ceremonial position. It dates back to like England, like hundreds of years ago, where it's just they're called the coroner, and it's they don't have to have any medical training, and it's just an elected, it just carried over from that, right? It's not, they really are not, even if they have medical training, they are not the people to be making assessments for anything that matter. It's crazy to me that they even would do time of death. And like with the coroner in Alex Murdoch, it was like a range of like 6 hours and he stuck his hand under the armpits. So let me see what else you guys are saying in the chat. It's hilarious. Well, you know what? I tell you what, that's the thing I love about trials. Every trial is different, and there's always things that come up that require a certain expertise. And I love having the scroll crew is the best because we have all kinds of people in the scroll crew. And I don't know that we have another electrician to my knowledge. So you would be our resident electrician. So when things come up that have to do with things pertaining to electrician shit, you will be our go-to. I love that. It's like having, everybody's got their different expertise and everything comes up in trials. It's so stuff that you never thought you'd learn about. It'll come up. And one of the reasons I love it. Right. So they are not going the death. They could have gone for the death penalty here. Arizona does have the death penalty. They are not seeking the death penalty here. But again, they did seek it in Idaho, and then it was dropped right before the trial because of the disclosure violations from the state. And then Chad is on death row currently. Kane's back. Welcome, welcome. No, that's okay. I will be honest with you. Most people, I still hear people, even on LawTube, confuse the terms all the time. And they say coroner when they really mean to say medical examiner. And a lot of people, including most people probably still think they're everywhere. It's like, leave it to the scroll crew though, right? Like we delved way deep into it because I was like, no more. And I will say, if nothing else, the scroll crew, I'm making sure we are going to be in the minority of people who know the difference between coroner, medical examiner, and forensic pathologist, because I always thought the words could be used interchangeably, and coroner armpits changed everything. So shout out to coroner armpits for that. So that's not even a shelter thing. Again, I hear all the time from people on LawTube, they will say coroner when they really mean to say medical examiner or forensic pathologist. And it just drives me crazy. I'm like, oh my God, like I thought we all learned our lesson, and they are not the same thing at all. Again, medical examiner and forensic pathologist are more the same thing because a medical examiner is a forensic pathologist, but the difference being that it's a government position. And the reason is because clearly at some point, certain jurisdictions were like, yeah, coroners are not good enough for this. We need more people with actual training. And so they got rid of, in certain jurisdictions, they got rid of the coroner and said, let's make it a medical examiner who's a forensic pathologist and give them that position. And I think that is smart. That is hilarious. Don't tease us with a good time. That's an easy one to do. I mean, plus, I'm sure that I would imagine that pseudoephedrine is, I don't know the right word. It related to, there's a word for that type of shit, right? Chemical, you know, an offshoot, whatever the actual word is. It's a byproduct. You know what I mean? I would imagine they're related. So yeah, so they are now at lunch. Oh my God. Do you think the jury is having a whole delicious lunch? Heather, are you still listening? Do you think the jury is having a whole delicious lunch? Hang on.
I ate a lunch, like I had a whole delicious lunch.
Also, going along the lines of a coroner, not quite the same, but similar.
My friend Elizabeth is a mortician. She's the prettiest mortician I've ever met.
You guys, Andy's friend, the fucking mortician. What is happening? Oh, and speaking of Lori not being able to go to her pool party.
I want to send some text sort of canceling my plans. Like I'm actually at 6:30. I was supposed to be at a party by now.
We know. Dude, I cannot with her. I forgot I even had that one ready at the ready. Oh boy. And we haven't done five. Here's five. Speaking of five. The real question, dude, Heather, the real question is Lori having a whole delicious lunch? I wonder how they work that for jail food. I don't know that we've really ever, I mean, I'm trying to think, have I ever heard about that? Like, do they bring jail food in? You know what I mean? Because she's at the courthouse. So like, that could actually be more cumbersome. Like, is it easier to just give her like a regular lunch? Like, I don't know. Does she get a whole delicious jail food lunch? Does she get a half delicious non-jail food lunch? I don't know. But I want to know. I want to know. So we talked about this a lot. I've covered this in depth. I covered all those docs. The difference is the timing of it all, right? So we covered the disclosure, the motion to preclude the death penalty, and Lori Vallow's case was cited there, but from both sides. But before that even happened, I literally, as I was reading the first paragraph in the defense's filing, I was like, it's not going to work, because I literally, and I shout out to Tonka. Tonka was there when this happened. I just remember that specifically because I know he was there, and I'm sure he will remember, because I literally sat there and did the math. I looked at the calendar and I did like added up the months from when that was filed until the trial, and it was at least 6 months. And I literally said there's already a huge difference, because in Lori's case it was less than a month, and in this case it was 6 months till trial. But then it was like, keep reading, Chelsea, because as I kept reading, that's literally what the state said. And they're right. It is a huge difference. The thing is Judge Boyce set precedent when he made that decision, okay, in Lori's case. And the big part of the opinion there, the holdings, was that it was because of the timeliness, because there was no remedy, because it was 2 weeks before her trial, and she was maintaining her right to speedy trial. And so, yeah, the difference here, right? So then, of course, what the defense fired back with after that was, well, you know, it's so much information that the more than 6 months may as well be 2 weeks. That's big. That's the summary, the way I would summarize their argument as it pertains to the timing issue, that they were saying, like, you know, and again, I covered that entire document, but like that's me summarizing it, that it's like, well, it's so much stuff, and because we still have so much to do, that it may as well be 2 weeks, right? They're like, it's just so much data and it would take this much time and it's not going to go anywhere at this point. Now, having said that, if in fact the state continues these late disclosures and we get closer to trial and it's a month before, done. That'll be, death penalty will be taken off the table for sure, without a doubt. So Heather weighing in, it probably depends on the jail location versus the courthouse, probably. Can you just imagine her being there in her little outfit and everything, and she thinks she's all fancy, and then they shuttle in, they have a special delivery, and it's like, what I'm picturing is one of those nasty ass trays with the little compartments, and it's like, and here now I'm thinking like the Office reference, like the show, right? It's just gruel. It's like, you have like the 6 different sections and the dividers on the tray, and all it is gruel omelets, gruel in one. It's just different versions of gruel covered in saran wrap. And here you go. And then she gets a plastic fork to eat it with. That's what I'm picturing, which is just funny in my mind to picture. Did they give what to who? Chad, are you talking about? Yeah, and I don't even remember what they even did. I don't even know if they specified what it was that was turned over late. I can try to pull that up though. I don't know that they specified. Hold on. It would have been the defense initial filing. Oh, that's the state's response. Well, we might need that. Let me go back down. Hang on. Okay, so it's after this motion for leave. Where the fuck is it? Oh, that's right. It came out after the state's response because of the way they did this. Now I remember. That's why it's harder to find. It's not quite in order, is why. Where the fuck is it? Hang on. Oh, they may have fixed it and put it in order. That's why, because I was looking for a D defense and it doesn't have it. Right. That's annoying. They have to make it hard to find. Why they gotta make it so hard? That's what she said. Okay, so look, and there it is right there. Look. Another Idaho trial court recently concluded that precluding the death penalty was the only way to cure the prejudice of disclosure violations by the state. In Idaho v. Daybell, the state had bait stamped and previously provided the prosecution failed to turn over. So it wasn't just the jail phone calls or whatever. That's in addition. But look. So this is why I wanted to go back. The prosecution failed to turn over approximately 5,000 pages of discovery and 30 hours of audio files until a month before trial. Oh my God. Whatever. Now it's that. So they're saying 68 terabytes of discovery. So we're trying to figure out what specifically that is. I don't know that they specify. Let's see if it might be in their opening bit, because that's on page that we were on page like 26. Where that pulled up to. Here's where they go about how much data. Just seeing if they get more specific. An enormous amount of disorganized data, but that's not the same as late. Okay, supplemental discovery footnote 2. Okay, supplemental discovery footnote 2. Oh, it's related to IgG. Interesting. The state further promised some discovery, which has not yet arrived, but overall said to Mr. Kohberger, it was too late to get the information. Is there anything else, or is it just because they're like, we didn't get all the IgG stuff? Let's see. Page 12 might have, let's see. Okay. We know they have the obligation. I just don't know that they make it. I don't know that they give any specific. Let me see what you guys are saying in the chat. Maybe somebody remember. Let me just see here because I don't. Let's see here. Exculpatory means that it shows that you didn't do it. For example, if they say so and so committed this crime at da da da. Okay, I'll give an actual example. Okay, like I'll give an example from Murdoch. Okay, so CB Rowe was the caretaker, and he was one who Alex tried to kind of throw under the bus, but not really because he doesn't actually really offer anybody else up. But like CB Rowe came up. Okay, but they had to exclude him. So CB Rowe. They found that CB Rowe, his cell records and all the other, not just that, but also like receipts showed that he was in Georgia when the murders happened. So he's excluded. Another example, let's take Wendy Adelson, right? And take Jeff, right? Jeff Lacasse. Wendy tried to make him the fall guy. Well, they were able to prove via his phone records and receipts and stuff that he was traveling all the way to, I think, Tennessee. So he was in another state when it happened. Just example. So it's evidence that shows for sure you didn't commit the crime, or you couldn't have been there. You know what I mean? Just as there's tons of examples. That's just a couple. And inculpatory, right? Inculpatory means it supports guilt. Mm-hmm. There you go. A jailhouse sack lunch with mystery meat. Yep, love it. Yeah, inculpatory, right? It points towards guilt. Yep. I love this. Kane said, I'm sure Lori would be fine with a bag of her own vomit plus some organic apple slices. Love it. So if you're used to getting the documents read to you, I mean, that's what I do. That's what I do. I read the documents, like literally every single document for Kohberger and other cases, like all the cases that I'm following, like that have court file, like Adelson's, right? And then Shanna Gardner, we're also doing the Murdoch appeal, which I need to get to part 3 of that. But yeah, lots of documents. We read court documents a ton here. That was a short run, Candace, I guess, but I'm not saying, I know it was super hot. I'm sorry. It was miserable. Did you come back early? And I do agree with that. I think we cannot rule out the possibility that that the state will do that, and it'll be. I mean, they would have to be stupid to do it because they know now it's a done deal. If they drop some shit right before trial, it's a done deal. So it looks like nobody so far has mentioned that they remember anything specific here. So I'm going to keep looking then for it. I just didn't want to keep looking if somebody had already answered that question. So let's keep looking to see if they give anything specific. Oh, but look at this. They're actually defining exculpatory, for fuck's sake. Okay, let's actually read. See, I always skip over that because I'm like, we know what exculpatory, we know Brady. Let's actually read it. Okay, how about that? All right. So they have to turn over any and all information within their control that would, 1, tend to negate the guilt of the defendant. That's exculpatory evidence. 2, tend to reduce the punishment of the defendant. Or 3, any material which may be used for impeachment. Now, that's not necessarily Brady. This is the criminal discovery standard. So let me just elaborate. So when you've got a criminal case, okay, all the discovery like initially is going to come from the government, the state, you know, or the Commonwealth, whatever. Or if it's the federal government, then whatever jurisdiction that is. So all the discovery initially is going to come from the prosecution. Why? Because they're the ones that are bringing the charges. They're the ones that have a, you know, until a defendant is arrested and charged with a crime, they don't have anything to work with, right? So everything comes from there initially. Okay. So this is the discovery standards. Let me read it again, because this is the different criteria. Discovery standards, and which means they have to turn it over. Anything that would, 1, tend to negate the guilt of the defendant, 2, tend to reduce the punishment of the defendant, or 3, any material which may be used for impeachment. So if it's not in those categories, it means they don't have to turn it over. Now, in some places like Florida, shout to Florida doing the one thing right that they do right, which is the sunshine law. Everything gets turned over from both parties, regardless of anything. They turn everything over. And a lot of places, so even that may not be the requirement, a lot of jurisdictions, for example, like EDB will talk about when she was in LA County, even though it's not required, it's best practice to turn everything over anyway. So that's one thing. So, but that's the rules give those 3 criteria, but best practice, and shout Florida again for making, in Florida, it is the rule, right? Turn everything over. Don't play hide the ball. When you hear people talking about hiding the ball, it means not turning over certain discovery. Okay. Now, as far as Brady, I think I skipped over that because we don't need to read it. As far as Brady is because of its case law, right? There it is. Yep, Brady. So let's just find that section. Now it would be before this. Before this. There it is, Brady v. Maryland, U.S. case law. All right, let's read this. Both federal and Idaho Constitution, as well as Idaho law, require that the prosecution turn over any materials to the defense which may help the accused either by negating the guilt, mitigating punishment, or impeaching the state's witness. So this does include impeaching. Okay, Brady v. Maryland. There you go. So exculpatory would be the first thing, right? Like negating guilt, but it goes beyond just exculpatory. It also mitigating punishment or impeaching the state's witness. So basically the same then as the requirement I just read for discovery, right? The prosecution has a constitutional duty to identify, preserve, and disclose exculpatory information, okay? They have to turn that. This is a good point to make also for you guys who are less familiar. They have to turn it over even if the defense doesn't request it. And why? Well, of course, because the defense may not know it's there. The defense doesn't always know what the state has, right? Unless you're maybe in Florida. So in other words, it's their job to turn it over, not wait for the defendant to request it. Okay. And then now we've got Giglio. The good faith or bad faith of the prosecutor is not relevant to the Brady inquiry. Now, the reason that this matters is because you'll always hear Brady Giglio. When you hear people say Brady Giglio, they're referencing 2 separate U.S. cases that are, and remember, U.S. Supreme Court case law is mandatory binding for every court in every jurisdiction in the country, which means it's as good as law for every jurisdiction. So that's why Brady Giglio is such a big deal. But it's 2 different cases. You have Brady v. Maryland, which is, again, U.S. Supreme Court case law. Then you have Giglio v. U.S., which is, again, U.S. Supreme Court case law. So Giglio took it a step further, right? Which is, it's basically like the willfulness. You know, we always hear about that, right? Was it done? Was it just on accident, or was it done willfully and intentionally? How much knowledge do they have? That type of thing. So what Giglio says is that whether the non-disclosure was a result of negligence or design, which is intentional, right? Design being intentional, it is the responsibility of the prosecutor. The prosecutor's office is an entity, and as such, it's a spokesman for the government. So even if they find out independently, right? So for example, let's just say that the prosecution wasn't fucking around. They didn't do anything wrong. They weren't trying to hide anything, but then something comes out, like, again, Murdoch, kind of another example, because we had all that information that came out mid-trial, the GMC OnStar data. It was it wasn't, it just happened. It happened because someone was watching the trial. Here it is. But, you know, there's many other ways it could happen where just information just comes to light from some other source. It wasn't hidden, right? But what they're saying is, like, that doesn't matter. It's still Giglio. Like, it's still exculpatory, has to be turned over, even if it wasn't, like, you know, if that makes sense. They must disclose exculpatory evidence in time for its effective use at trial. Okay. Additionally, when exculpatory materials have been disclosed too late for their effective use at trial, the ultimate disclosure implicates a defendant's constitutional right to the effective use. Here, I'm going to go on a limb here and say this. They haven't said it yet. I'm still looking for it, right? In addition to kind of explaining some of this stuff for you guys. But again, what I'm really looking for here is, do they say specifically what the discovery is? And I don't remember them saying it before when I read it, and I'm not seeing it yet. But I'm going to go out on a limb and say this. It's entirely possible that what they're referencing is the AT&T timing data, timing advance data. Now, I don't know why they're not referencing it specifically, but maybe because they hadn't, remember, this was filed before we had those affidavits from CyRay. This was filed before then. So maybe that's why. We're going to keep looking, but I'm wondering if that's what they're, because the fact that they keep saying exculpatory and throwing that word around makes me think that's got to be what it is, because that's what was made really clear in those CyRay affidavits. What do you guys think? Is that what they're talking about here? Let me see what you guys are saying. Yeah, exactly. Think about excommunicated, ex-girlfriend, expelled. Yeah, exactly. Exculpatory means kick those charges out of here. Inculpatory means you're still included in the circle of being involved. Oh, it was a quick spree. Okay, were you doing like interval trainings then, probably, Candace? It's not a dollhouse. Just people are calling it that. It's a 3D rendering of the house. And they made a model out of it. And so because of that, yes, it's going to, it's not an actual dollhouse, but it's like a dollhouse, right? In this sense. Yeah. And remember, the standards are different in New Mexico. We've talked about that at length. The standards are different in New Mexico. New Mexico has their own additional case law that allows for if it doesn't have to be exculpatory. Brady is exculpatory, right? But there in New Mexico, it doesn't matter if it's exculpatory or could have been exculpatory. That's a huge distinction there. Oh, and call it a dollhouse. Okay, yeah, I don't remember that. I don't deny it, but I just don't remember that happening. But that's funny that she did. I don't blame her, right? Because it's a good way to make fun of it. Okay, interesting. But we don't know. We just don't know. We just don't know. That's why I'm saying, in terms of what's come out, the only thing that has been for sure in the court filings, even in think about the alibi, think about all the other motions, anytime that they've said exculpatory, the only thing that the defense has actually said whenever they're making those arguments to support it, they always reference the phone. That's what they've said. So there could be other things, but in terms of what we've actually seen the defense put into these filings or even talk about in the hearings, it's dealing with the phone. So yeah. Excellent. I'm glad that was helpful. I hope you have a great day. Right. Yeah, they're on a lunch break, by the way, PFox. They're on a lunch break. And we don't know if Lori's having a whole delicious lunch or a half delicious lunch or a whole terrible not delicious lunch. Well, but in terms of late disclosures, though, right? I think that they had. I don't know. Initially they were putting they were hanging their hat on, so to speak, or putting their eggs in one basket, so to speak, for the most part, right? In terms of their strongest issues that they were expressing as their strongest issues. It was initially the IgG, and now it seems like it's the phone. I'm not saying there's not other issues, obviously, but in terms of what they really are putting the most effort into, and the defense, right? It was the IgG, and now it's the phone. Well, it was, I guess, IgG and phone. Now it's phone. So let's just keep looking here. It might be that they get more specific in their reply. So let me pull up their reply, which is the most recent one. Wait. Has that reply come out yet? No, it has. We just covered this, but let me just pull it up. Here it is. Found it. Whee! By the way, I don't know. I don't know how long their lunch was. I'm just going to make sure that I'm going to pull it up to live and just see. There we go. This music is hilarious. Great. Actually, I guess I'll just put it on mute and then keep it playing live. Okay. So wonderful. So now, okay. Okay, gotcha, Heather. Thank you. Okay, just in your opinion. Right. Of course. Right. No, totally. Yeah, 100%. I'm glad you said in my opinion, because usually you're sticking very much to like what's come out. So yeah, so I agree. In my opinion, there's other things, but in terms of what's come out in the filings, yeah. Okay, so we're on the same page with that. Awesome. Yay, Meg. Whee! Okay, so this is what did I do? What did I do? Okay, yes, I know what I did. This is the defense reply. This is the, we went over this whole thing recently, but we're looking for anything specific. There they go through all the amount, but they don't say what it is. Again, they're still they're still making an argument about things not being organized, right? Which is a problem, but it's not going to get them anywhere with this. No way. And this is stuff they already have. They're saying it's disorganized. Again, I hate that shit from the state, but it's not going to get them anywhere here. I don't think. I would bet everything on it that it's not going to go anywhere with that. Because they're not required to do it. While it's annoying, they're not required. I feel like they should be, but that's just me personally. By what I'm saying that I feel like should be required is that the state organize shit, right? But and again, the evidence.com of it all with the overlap there with Shannon Gardner. I'm like, I don't like that at all. An index, again, this is the organization factor. That's not what we're looking for here. We're looking for what has not been turned over or was late turned over. Specifically, not just discovery. The defense continues to be inundated with late discovery and late expert disclosures mere months prior to trial. That is the most specific yet. So in these filings that are talking about specifically precluding the death penalty, okay, this is the most specific yet, and that's still not specific at all. Although now they're saying, okay, expert disclosure deadline. Remember, I was like thinking maybe they're talking about the timing advanced data, but I guess they're talking about stuff that still wasn't turned over yet. And they did get that, but just later than they wanted. And also they were told that it didn't exist. But anyway, they have it. So, or wait, hold on. Let me rethink that in my brain. What did we determine? We determined that the state hasn't, hold on. No, we determined that the state still hasn't turned it over, but clearly the defense must have it because how else can CyRA assess it as exculpatory? So, okay. Okay, interesting. See what I mean? Though, look at this, guys. What do you think they're talking about here? The state just turned over discovery. Okay, what was just turned over? Help me out here, guys. This was filed, what was it, like March, end of March or something? Anyway, so what was just turned over? The state just turned over discovery that the defense specifically asked for more than 1 year ago. Oh, okay, hold on. Among the documents are things dated November 2023. Hold on, let me see if I can figure it out. So we're gonna go back to this. The state just turned it over. Let's just see if we can figure out what that was. Motion to compel. That's what it's incorporating these here with. They're listing all the things they've already done. What? It's just listing all their previous, hold on. Oh, there was an exhibit. Now, don't get excited when you see exhibit S1, because as we've pointed out many times, there's a bazillion S1s. I don't know how they're going to deal with that because they need to redo it. Like there's a billion S2s and a billion S1s. And I don't get it. It seems like a problem. That's a problem to me. Hold on. Let me just unshare, reshare. Can you guys hear me? Okay. Oh, is he talking about me or people in the chat? Probably both. One of the things was the lab rules. Okay. Let's see if there's anything else. Here's exhibit S1 to the state's response to the motion to compel. Okay. He's talking about me. That's like, I do swear a lot. And you know, it's funny because I'm able to not swear because I have to do it all the time for my lessons, obviously, which is funny. That's not an easy thing to do, by the way. Like I will just say that like when I first started teaching, like, you know, like I started my studio in like 2015, like I was really hard for me. It took a lot of mental energy to be able to stop swearing. You know what I mean? And then you get used to that. And then it's like, you be hanging out with people. And anyway, I will just say it's taken a long time for me to be able to switch on and off. That's what I'll say. It's really hard, actually. That's what she said. Order sealing S1. So this is the S1. Now remember, there's a million S1s, just saying, right? But yeah, we don't fucking know what it is. We don't fucking know what it is. Frustrating. Let's see if there's anything else for like motions to compel in here. So I don't know. I don't know what it is. Okay. So we were reading this one. Now, among the documents are things dated November 2023. And then of course, they say that late expert disclosures continue to roll in. That's just not going to be enough for this to go through. And then they're talking about each disclosure creates a cascading set of responsibilities. I get it. It's shitty. Shouldn't be that way. I'm just saying, we know how it is, right? We know how it is. We know how it is. And in order for this to be granted, it's going to have enough similarities to the holding from Judge Boyce, right? In Lori Vallow. Let's see if we can actually find that holding. I think it's in this one. Maybe not. No, I think it's in the states one. Hold on. Wait, that's not the right thing. Hold on. Okay, it's in this one, I think. So, and I'm going to control F myself for Judge Boyce. Shout out to Judge Boyce doing the right thing and making history for Idaho. Love it. Are we searching for this or are we not? What are we doing? Okay. All right, here we go. The court must determine, so this is great. This is for Lori in Idaho, right? The court must determine here that the defense has in fact demonstrated material prejudice resulting from the late disclosures. The prejudice has occurred because of the proximity of the trial, the volume of the discovery, and the inability of the defense to adequately review that discovery before trial begins. 3 things. Let me read it again. 3 things to determine the prejudice. Proximity of the trial, the volume of the discovery, and the inability of the defense to adequately review that discovery before trial begins. So the defense here in Idaho for Brian Kohberger is really resting on this one, the 3rd one, that the defense to adequately review it, because here's why. Like, and also the volume, right? But the first thing he's mentioning is the proximity trial. They don't have that on their side because it's factually different, right? But the volume, so in other words, what is the problem here, right? In other words, if there was a large volume, right, would they have had time? Or do they not have time because of the proximity? So what's the bigger factor here? Is it the volume or is it the proximity of trial? You see what I mean? That's what they're picking apart. And then it says, Judge Boyce held, because the court has not found any willful conduct on the part of the state, the court is not primarily concerned with any sort of sanction or punishment. But what the court must address is an appropriate remedy to try to mitigate the prejudice that has been caused by the late disclosures. Ordinarily, a logical remedy would exist here, and that would be a continuance of this trial. That has been proposed by the state as one solution, and the state has proposed to mirror a continuance in the companion case of Chad Daybell. However, here that's an option I can't consider because in this case, the defendant has unequivocally asserted her right to a speedy trial. Now, why is that problematic? Because potentially, if the state was late, let's just say potentially in Brian Kohberger's case, if it continues to go to trial, let's say it's a week before trial, even, okay, and there's more shit that comes in. In that case, it could be a remedy to continue the trial. I still think the death penalty should come off the table, but I don't know what Judge Hippler would do because this is the holding. Why does this matter? This is the holding. This means that now this is the precedent. So everything he lays out here as for his reasons matter for other cases. And here there's a distinction because Lori did not waive her right to speedy trial. So that's going to be a thing, right? He says that's an option I can't consider because in this case, the defendant has unequivocally asserted her right to speedy trial. So what this sounds like is, had she not asserted her right to speedy trial, he could have considered that, continuing it, okay? In determining whether speedy trial is violated, one of the major factors is the reason for the delay. The reason for the delay here rests on the state and can't be counted against the defendant to justify a delay of trial in this case. If I were to delay this case based on an issue caused by the state, I believe that would violate her fundamental and constitutional right to speedy trial. So the speedy trial is a huge factor here for his holding. And as we all know, Brian waived it. So does that make sense to you guys? So as far as the specific discovery and whatnot, like, again, it seems like they're not really saying, it looks like the expert disclosures are a part of it. But that was it. They said discovery and they said expert. Let me just make sure there wasn't anything else there. No, there wasn't. We finished it. We went through it all. Yeah. I believe. So yeah, the court concluded that the problem here is a timing problem. They're referring to Judge Boyce and prejudice, literally what we just read. They're citing the Judge Boyce response here. But then they are including something from Lori's mitigation specialist at the end. When we covered all this when we went through this whole document. And they're saying here, in this case, right, Brian Kohberger's case, the discovery problems have existed throughout this case, requiring near constant litigation and significant time. The volume of discovery is an extreme outlier. The state has not complied with this court's deadlines and thus has derailed counsel's review of the state's case and evidence in the months before trial. Like in the Vallow Daybell case, but in a more extreme fashion, prejudice has occurred because of the proximity of trial. So they're quoting it again or citing the holding here. They're saying that they are trying to take that holding and say it still applies. It's not going to. As we've talked about, I think the death penalty shouldn't exist. So obviously I wish this was successful. I don't think it's going to be successful, but that's different from what I think or wish could happen. I expect this to be denied. As with the motion to strike the death penalty due to the autism, I expect that to be denied also. I know, Heather, I know, trust me, I know. That's the thing. They really do railroad you. And that's 100% the case, right? That's why I think it's a big deal, unfortunately, that now with this case law, it rests so much from Judge Boyce's decision on the speedy trial thing, because literally most people waive speedy, right? And when they do, it's usually because they don't have a choice, really, right? We all know that. And like I talked about this on that live stream where we covered this, where I was like, the speedy trial for death penalty cases should be longer, right? That's the thing, because otherwise they are really railroaded into waiving it. And we all know that that's the case. And in so many trials, like anytime it's waived, that's pretty much why. Lori Vallow might be an exception because she just you know, Donna Adelson might be another exception. Some people, they just really want to go to trial and for whatever their own reasons are. But usually it's like if you, or sorry, they're maintaining it rather. Yeah. But most people, yeah. So most people waive it. It's like, it's like the normal thing to do because it's like, duh, it's the speedy trial is not enough time. And those who maintain it, they're in the minority. So, but I think it should be much longer for a death penalty case. I mean, I would say at least 9 months. That's my personal opinion. I'm not saying that will ever happen. I'm saying I wish that would happen. I know. Well, and it's just like with Karen Reed, right? I mean, fuck, like similar. I mean, just so similar. I mean, not death penalty, but like new evidence still coming in, like with the Lolliport videos and everything. You know what I mean? It's like incredible. After a first trial has already happened, it's just insane. So let me see what's going on with the court and if they're still, yep, they're still on the lunch break. Welcome, Io. Welcome. Enjoy this music. Oh yeah. It's so funny. Elevator music. CourtTV is on lunch break. I'll just improvise. How about that? Sorry. I could get out my violin and like, well, sorry, now I'm like having all these ideas. I could come up with a violin part to this. Should I do it? Should I improvise a solo? I have to tune. Hold on. I will have to mute the sound for myself by tune, but let me just do this. This will be fun. And hopefully the audio will come through. Hold on. You guys will have to tell me if you can hear me when I get my violin. Hopefully it's not in a really weird key, but if it is, that's fine. Let me just mute myself for that tune. I was right. That's so funny. It's in a really weird key. Okay. All right. Well, let's see. Can you guys even hear my violin at all? I don't even know why I'm doing this. I got the idea and then that was it. Oh my God. Can you guys hear my violin? I'm just making up, going along with it. Oh gosh, I go on the thing. I'm making up melodies. That's funny, Heather. This is also a weird key, by the way. So that means no open string. I have no idea if this is sounding normal because with StreamYard, I don't know how it handles it. That's why I've never gotten my violin out on a live stream ever, I don't think. Because there was times where I was doing it with guitar and it was like that the guitar was something else and didn't normally. So I don't know if it sounds normal or not. But anyway, that's what this means, Heather. That's what this means. Does anyone know if the violin sounds normal or not? Does it sound weird? That was nice. They gave me a little opportunity. Oh my God, y'all. The police officers are back. And now there's two of them. What is going on? Two different dudes. Oh my, what? Today. I don't even know. It sounds like I'm playing in a bucket. That sucks. That sucks. Why is it like that? That sucks so badly. Holy shit. How can I make, let me try this. Let me see if that helps. Hold on. Okay, let's try this. Oh wait, did they change? Oh, we've shifted. Does it sound better? Okay. They've shifted into a new thing. Okay. Don't worry, guys. There's just something happening in my neighbor's backyard. That's all good, though. Okay. Oh, wait, hold on. That's the one. Where are they going there? Okay. Yeah, interesting. That's an interesting chord progression. Hold on, let me think. Okay. Anyway, I don't like that one as much as the others. Okay, I think they left. What is going on? This is their second time today. Anyway. Yeah, I don't like this one either. do during the lunch breaks from now on. Dude, Court TV. Oh, whoa. Interesting keys that they're choosing. Not very interesting, this one. Where did the piano melody go? Weird. This is a weird one. Look at the fake violins that they have. That's hilarious. Should I try to play with the fake violins so you can hear the difference? This is hilarious. Real violin versus fake violin. I had echo cancellation on through StreamYard, and that's what I think was making it sound buckety. See if I can try to mimic the piano part. Okay, hold on. Try to figure it out by here. It changed it there. That's annoying as fuck. It was doing something like that earlier. Anyway. I'm excited for the next change because this one's like kind of. Oh! Very interesting melody. I think this is AI generated. Because it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. You know what? They can't get vibrato right. No, none of these fake violin people, you know, they can't get vibrato. Well, that's not their only problem. Hold on, I'm trying to get the piano. Something like that. I'm glad you guys are still here. So it's not planned. Oh, let me take this comment down because I'm no longer in a bucket, which is good. Yeah, that's a perfect fifth. Oh, there's a cute squirrel. Oh, okay, here we go. And new thing. Yeah. Get it, Court TV. Oh, different key. Okay, hold on. Interesting. Wow, these keys. Wait, what are we doing? Okay. What the fuck key is this? Wow. Crazy, huh? Woo! Whoa. The fake violins. That's what the violin part's doing here in the song. Hold on. Okay. Nope, not anymore. Wait, where did it went up higher? One of them. Whoa. Oh God, I just hit my computer. Sorry. These weird keys are not fun, but it's okay. It's all good. That's the note that I'm always like, what is that? What are they doing? Oh wait, hold on. Let me just change that one. Hey, drum roll. This is what we're doing. Do you guys have any song requests? I can take requests if you guys have a favorite song. Not that that's, I mean, you know, we could always be like doing other shit, but whatever. Anyway. Well, I have the violin out. Whoa! Whoa. I think they might change the song soon. Oh, what did you say about, hold on, let me see what you're saying about violin, not villain. Oh, I assumed you meant violin. Yeah. I had the echo cancellation on. Hi, official. I mean, the melodies they come up with are lame, I will just say. I hope they change the song soon. It's a little surprise. Official has to pee. Go pee. We'll be here. That is me. That's I. I mean, it's you know, working with the CourtTV music here. cult mom music. It's so Lori can enjoy her whole delicious lunch. I can't believe the cops came back. Whoa, all right. These weird keys. Interesting. I know. You guys, do y'all have any song requests? You can name a song. Listen, I'm gonna mute it. If I've heard a song once, I could probably figure out, I can almost definitely figure out a violin version. The only ones that are difficult are like if it's something that's really drum heavy or something like that. But if it has melody and harmony, I can play it on violin. So name your songs if you want anything. I am freestyling. I don't know these songs. I'm improvising through CourtTV music. Yeah, because some of them are lamer than others. ABCs. Oh. Weird key. Ew, that's a weird key. That's like That's why it's like gotta be AI, because they're not using the A440. Unless my violin went out of tune. Actually, I may have gone out of tune. I'm tuning. Okay, I'm gonna mute this. Here's what it sounds. I did go out of tune. I need to tune again. Okay, now we're good. I don't know that song, Official. I know I know other Nicki Minaj songs and stuff. I don't know that one though. Call Me AI. Call Me AI, is that a song? I mean, yeah. Thank you for that one. Whoa. Yeah. Weirdness. This is a weird one. Call Me Out? I don't think I know that one. I know a lot of Paul Simon songs. I grew up learning guitar with Simon and Garfunkel. Oh, I'm sure I could, Official, but it's just going to be hard to do that. Like, if I play it right so I can listen to it, I'm going to get a copyright strike, right? That's the thing. So I have to like know it off the top of my head. Oh, I know. My favorite sound on the planet is an orchestra tuning, for sure. That's awesome. Keep naming songs. Eventually I'll have something I can do. If you name other songs. Disney songs are fine. You know, that's also anything you guys want. Mamma Mia from the musical, or Walk Like an Egyptian. I have to remember how that goes. How does the freaking melody? Again, I can't play it because I will get a copyright. crap. I only remember the walk like an Egyptian. I don't remember how the rest of it goes. Crap. Okay, Under the Sea. All right. Okay, okay. Hold on, I can do that, but let's do a... So when I do arrangements for songs, I can do multiple parts. Like I can do the background part and the melody at the same time, but it's hard to do that. Like I'd have to figure it out. So anyway, Under the Sea. By the way, singing and playing violin at the same time is impossible, so I can't do that. Hold on, I can do that better rhythmically. Under the Sea. I'm still trying to do it. It's like impossible though. Hold on. There you go. What about G minor? Like the key? Love Little Mermaid. What's in G minor now? Let's see what they're doing. This same song is still on? Wow. Ugh. You know, Hakuna Matata might be a little bit difficult because they speak a lot of that. You know what I mean? What about, let's see here. Oh, I was gonna, hold on. Hold on. I have no idea what that, you mean like, whatchamacallit? Like, what's the song? Heart Will Go On. Let's see, I don't know, that's so lame though. It's just so cheesy though. So cheesy. I don't remember what they were playing specifically when the ship was sinking. I think they were playing classical music, but I don't remember specifically. Hey, I have a good one. You guys know the song Ashokan Farewell? Let me try to remember how it goes. Hang on. Let me think. Let me put this back on, see what they're doing, and I'll think about it. This song again. Okay, that's a good one. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I don't know if I could play. That would be tough on violin though. Okay, so let's do this one. Let's do wait, what did I do? How did it go after that? Hold on. I'm forgetting how it goes after that. Hold on. I think it's like that or something close like that. I don't know that song, I'm sorry. Let's see what's happening here. Ugh, gross. Blackbird. Yeah, I can play that on guitar. I don't have my guitar out though, but I could do the melody by itself, but I don't know if that would really work so well without having the... But yeah, also welcome, Allison, if you're new. Glad you liked my cover of that. Yeah, violin you need a teacher for. Oh yeah, Zagan. Well, I haven't practiced that in a really long time, but yeah, I could probably play a smidgen of it. Okay. I have to just say something real quick. I haven't played this piece in, hold on. Probably 14 years. Okay. And this just goes to show you when you practice something, I probably could play more of this for memory still than I would ever give myself credit for. which is, I don't know. I don't even know what to say about that. Like, that's insane. That's insane. Yeah. There's anyway, if you guys like Bach, we could do some Bach. I mean, I'd have to find if I found my sheet music for it, I could play it. I could play more of that, Zagan. But yeah, I'm glad you liked it. I love that piece as well. Well, muscle memory, right, but it goes way beyond that. It goes way beyond the muscle memory, because there's plenty of pieces that I feel like on violin that, I think I'll never forget them, and I do. It's just certain pieces, when you learn them to a certain level, it's like I don't know how to explain it. Got the Sibelius concerto over here. Oh, wait, something's happening. Court's happening.
I was cross-trained to
Sorry, we missed.
the regular basic entry officer stuff.
Why is it so dark in court? Hold on. Okay, sorry guys. I was looking at my music stand and I missed court starting. Did they come? Were they late to come back with the cameras? What's happening? Oh my god. Wow.
So there are many
Yeah.
jobs
Wow,
within
weird.
SWAT. There's
That
regular
was
officers
abrupt.
that typically will do entry. There's some that do, specialize in breaching, some specialize in grenadiers, and then we also have the snipers. So I was cross-trained to
Oh, who
do
is this dude?
the
You don't
regular
know.
basic entry
Why is it so
officer stuff,
dark?
as well as I became a sniper, and eventually
Whoa.
I became a sniper
Okay.
instructor.
Okay, so what kind of training did you have to go through to become a sniper and sniper instructor?
So the sniper training was a basic 40-hour course.
Wow.
I attended that with the
sniper.
FBI.
I just hold on. I just have to say, first of all, thank you guys for not running away. None of that was planned. I hope you guys had fun. But also, the FBI. And also, boy, that not only was that an abrupt thing, now it's all dark and like that came out of nowhere, but like of all things, it's a sniper. Like, wow, it's like, thanks CourtTV, not I could have eased us into that a little bit more.
And as time progressed, I would attend advanced sniper trainings
Wow.
so that I could enhance my skill
I need
set.
to fix
And
my sound
eventually,
and all that.
after
normal.
having been on as a sniper for a while, I attended a 40-hour sniper instructor course.
Who is that with?
That was with the American Sniper Association.
As a trainer for
The American Sniper Association.
snipers, what did that entail?
I
It
agree.
entailed having to have a good working knowledge of the actual job,
Wow.
the ballistics that the rifles need to perform, knowing how to train new snipers, knowing how to keep snipers that have achieved certification to keep their
What
skill
is
sets
so
up,
dark?
and to
What is
keep
happening?
meeting the mandates of what would be expected of a police sniper.
Did you ever become a shooting reconstruction expert?
I did.
Can you tell us what does that mean?
Oh boy.
It means that I attended a course. It was a 40-hour course
Wow.
where it was completely hands-on. There was classroom,
you.
a lot of hands-on with you not only see the results of different impacts and things like that, but you watch it happen. And then in some cases, you actually get to make it happen. And then after that, you, as a class, you work together, putting things back together. And at the end of the 40 weeks, there is a test that you have to pass to get certification.
You said 40 weeks?
Or sorry, 40 hours, sorry.
No, he said 40 hours because yeah.
So what does, I guess, shooting reconstruction mean if you had to explain that to us?
It means being able to take information from a scene and being able to put it together to reconstruct as best as possible,
He's got
humanly
like 50 shades of
possible,
gray going on, doesn't he?
what happened. For instance, you have bullet strikes. In some cases, you can actually get a good angle or ballistics information so that you can backtrack it and get an approximate area where the shooter had to have been. In many cases, you can help articulate whether information given to you was factual or if the information given to you was not. And this is very handy when there are no witnesses and you only have basically the person saying what happened.
Is there any type of certification process to be a shooting reconstruction expert?
Yes, at the end of that course, I had to successfully complete a test in order to get certification.
And when did that occur?
That was in, I believe, early 2017.
Who is that through? Who puts that on?
It was with Michael Haig,
And
his
who is-
company.
Who is Michael Haig?
He is part of a duo, father-son duo, that have become quite renowned for their ability to do ballistics and then teach it and train other people with it.
Question: have y'all heard of him? I've not heard of him. And because, you know, I feel like, well, it's just so funny with trials, right? It's like, I have literally no anything with guns at all, knowledge, expertise, experience with. I've never even like seen one in person, but like literally everything that I have, like as soon as he says, "Oh, renowned," and it's like, oh, well, we're talking like, I feel like we should have heard of him, right? Because like, so funny how like with trials, it's like when it comes to trials, like different things that are related to trials, like, well, yeah, I'm familiar with that, but I've not heard of him. So interesting. Did he? Was that him? Hang on. See, that's what I was expecting when he said this, but I don't remember the name Haig. That's why. But see, literally, that's where my brain went, was like, hold on. Surely this, I literally went to the experts from Hannah Gutierrez. Oh, it was the son. Okay, interesting. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I was literally thinking like, gosh, I feel like I should know him, know the name. Interesting.
And have you utilized those skills that you learned in that shooting?
It wasn't the dude with the really long name who was all foolish and pointed the gun at everybody, was it? I don't doubt it.
Instruction course as a detective since then?
Yes, many times.
I assume you passed the certification test?
I did.
So on July 11th of 2019, were you working as a detective at that time for the homicide unit at the Chandler Police Department?
Yes, I was.
During the
Oh,
weekdays,
oh,
were you?
thank you, Ariel. See, my brain, when he said Hague, I thought Hague. Now that I see the spelling, Haag, now it rings a bell. My brain swapped it with a different spelling. That makes sense.
What were your, I guess, work hours normally?
My normal work hours were Monday through Thursday, about 7 to 5.
Monday through Thursday.
When you are working as a detective, we've heard a patrol is out driving around. What are you guys doing?
Well, we carry a caseload. So many times we are working on the cases that we've taken previous days or weeks ahead of time.
I don't remember what
We're trying to come to a conclusion for those particular cases. But many times we also will have our radios on, just kind of listening to what's going on.
So are you at your office?
It's
is at the
hard.
main
I
police
know.
station?
It's totally.
Correct.
Okay.
Everyone here can fucking relate. And I'm thinking back to it, and like I'm trying to remember. And if memory serves, while Hannah's trial was going on, there was shit going down in another case. I think it might have been, what was it? Karen Reed? No, that overlapped with Baldwin. There was I was balls deep in one of these other cases that I don't, and it was at that same time. Cause I remember it was the same thing with Baldwin, where I was like, how the fuck am I going to get caught up in these? I didn't cover Hannah Reed, right. Or Baldwin, but I was following them, and I'm like, how the fuck am I going to get caught up? Because I was covering like myself, multiple things. Anyway, there was a lot going on. I'll just say that much.
On July 11th of 2019, did you hear some police radio traffic of a shooting at 5531 South Four Peaks Place?
Yes, I did.
Did you respond to the scene?
After collecting some,
Speaking of cases lying together, when she went to ask for the address, my brain did this. I'm just gonna say this out loud. My brain did this. 4147 Fairview Road. Million squirrel points in the chat for who can guess which two cases and addresses that blends together. Hint, neither of them are this case. And literally that's what I was expecting him to say. 4147 Fairview Road. Oh my God. I need a new brain.
equipment and putting it in my vehicle, yes.
Is that normal then for detectives
brain
with
replacement.
homicide to go out to the scenes?
For the unit at the time, yes, it was.
Can you describe for us what the scene looked like when you arrived?
It's a hybrid of two different addresses.
There were police vehicles
I'll put it in
around.
the chat.
There were officers that had established a perimeter. Some crime scene tape was already put in place. And they basically
Good
had
job.
frozen the
Ariel
scene.
gets it. Million squirrel points. Yep.
Do you recall about how far?
4147 Moselle Road and what is it? 43 Fairview. See, now I'm like, am I going to add in another thing? But that's it. Murdoch and Carey. Good
away
job.
the
Well
scene
done.
was from the station where you
Million
were
squirrel
located?
points. Ariel.
15, 20-minute drive.
When you arrived there, were other detectives arriving? How does that work?
There were several of us that had self-deployed, and we were in various stages of being on our way there. So other detectives did arrive.
Sorry, that just gave me another good idea for our next members only trivia thing. We could do a trivia night where it's literally mashing up addresses and people having to name what cases they're from. That could be fun.
How do you decide which detective is going to do
34. Okay.
what at a scene when you all just
I think I
show up there?
reversed it. 44.
Well, a lot of times it's just a matter of who speaks up first saying, I'm going to take case. If it's after hours, then the person that's on call will usually be the person to do it. But if it's during regular business hours, it's kind of like a little wrestling match to figure out who's going to end up taking it.
What role did you get?
I got assigned the scene.
Okay. What does that mean to be assigned scene?
So the scene work, assigned scene means that you're responsible for making sure that the scene is processed properly, accumulate whatever evidence is necessary, report back to the actual case agent your findings so that they can stay aware of how things are transitioning and being learned, and then they can start making informed decisions on what the next step is going to be.
Do you do that alone or do you have help?
It depends on the scene. In this particular case, I had
James is
Detective
here.
Duncan along with me.
And do you have does Chandler Police Department have any like crime scene specialists or people that come up to help as well?
Yes, when I left the crime scene officer program, they had actually started a civilian
We love you,
program
James.
so that they could free up the officer's responsibility. So Chandler has several crime scene techs that will respond out when called.
And was someone called out
Thank
to
you for
that
that.
scene?
Yes.
Do you sort of, as the scene agent, help, I guess, tell them what to do? Are you the person who's overseeing the whole scene?
It's more of a collaborative effort. We do provide direction on things that we're specifically interested in, but I've worked with them for many years, so it's pretty easy for us to just understand, all right, some of the basics that have to be done, such as overall photographs. Before we even think about manipulating anything or marking anything, we want to try to capture the scene as it
James.
was
Love
that
you.
we walked into it.
Awesome.
As
Awesome.
the scene agent, did you create a
Oh.
diagram to just reflect what the scene looked like.
Yes.
And is that to scale?
It's not to scale. It's close, but it's not to scale.
Your Honor, if I can have my paralegal approach with Exhibit 5.
It's really funny how she says that. I've never heard that in any other case ever. And I've watched a lot of fucking trials. May I have my paralegal approach? Oh, because she can't leave the podium. That's why. That's why. That's why she can't leave the podium, because Lori can't leave the podium. That's why. Now it makes sense. Now it makes sense. That's why she has to do it that way. Because I was like, that is fucking weird as fuck. That's why she cannot leave the podium, because Lori can't leave the podium, because she might kill somebody if she does. Interesting. Okay, now we figured that out. Hydrate. Everyone hydrate.
And I think there's a second page in
Playing
there.
Never Have I Ever.
It is behind, but it's not exposed to the back. Yes.
By the way, guys, I just have to say, I have, for anyone who didn't hear me say this like yesterday, maybe it was, I was thinking about Never Have I Ever, and I have thought of a way to revamp it, to do it where it's going to be even better. Like, I thought of all the things that weren't ideal last time. Like, the iPad wasn't the easiest. The iPad with the camera shaking wasn't the easiest thing. Keeping score wasn't the easiest thing. But the thing of all that bothered me the most was that when people weren't there for the beginning of a round, I didn't have a way for them to join in, and that really sucked. So I scrolled it in my head, and I have solutions for all the problems. So the next members only is going to be Never Have I Ever Unhinged, or better, part 2, new version, new and improved. It's going to be awesome. But I'm really excited, because the thing I'm most excited about is that people who join in late can still jump in, and it's just going to be great. So I'm really excited about that.
Is that the sketch and then the second page measurements of that diagram?
It's going to be more organized.
Yes.
Keeping score.
Your Honor, the state will move to admit Exhibit 5.
Any objection?
If it's not to scale, I don't know how it will be helpful, but no objection.
All right, Exhibit 5
Pardon you, Lori. You can't just make stupid fucking comments. Oh my God.
is admitted.
I would.
If I may
I totally would. I need a big whiteboard, but I love how the first thing I think of is the problems or the challenges would be getting a big whiteboard, not you guys coming from all over the world. The first thing I thought of was the whiteboard. Okay, so we're going to see his drawing of the scene, is sketch, not to scale. Which is fine. He's on the scene. I mean, you can't, it's not like he is a human robot. You know what I mean?
All right, there you go. Okay, so this is Exhibit 5, the first page. Is this sort of an overview of the entire residence,
I can't
as
believe
well
I
as the items of evidence that you collected?
That is correct.
So we understand where we see these little yellow
Thank you, Jane.
placards. What do those indicate on your diagram?
On this diagram, they indicate the items of evidence for that particular room.
I'll be
And
honest.
do they each have a
No,
number?
no. I'll be honest. I probably wouldn't have thought it was okay covering trials and stuff like court, like law related stuff, except for the fact that everybody on LawTube, except for Lori, curse a lot, and they anyway. So shout out to Runkle and Lori, or EDB, and everybody else who likes to curse. Bob, Nally, Mata, Rob will curse on Friday Night Frenzy once it's been a certain point, like 2 hours in, and everyone else. And if I'm whoever I'm forgetting, anyway. But EDB was the one who really started it as being okay because of like the whole theme was like coffee and cursing words back in the day, and it was like a whole thing. And I was like, that's amazing. I will say briefly too that apparently, like in real life, attorneys curse all the fucking time, and some judges do also. So yeah, like it's a thing. But yes.
Number associated with them.
Yes.
And is
Oh,
the
of course, Arca could do it.
second
Now,
page
my thought was like that. I was thinking he made this like standing there at the scene, but he actually used software. So then there's really no excuse. If it's after the fact, I was picturing like a sketch with a pencil, like standing there, which, but if it's after the fact and you're using software, I don't know why it's not to scale. Should be to scale.
Yes.
I've never been married.
And is the
I'm single.
second page of your diagram
Oh, my
reflection
single squirrels.
of
Oh, my single squirrels.
what each of those
Oh, my
numbers
single
refers to?
squirrels. Oh, my single squirrels. So put
Yes,
your
it is.
claw up.
We see in this A, B, and distances. What is that?
So the reference points, for this particular purpose, we did a triangulation method. So we take
Ooh,
measurements from 2 known points in that room, and then we measure out to the item of interest. And then that was how we get a point A and a point B measurement.
All right, so at the first page here, that's the actual diagram. What is the
I
reference?
like how they
points
did the
that you
doors.
are using to
You can
make
ask,
these distance
y'all can
measurements?
ask me anything, and I'll
So
answer.
the reference
What?
points are not depicted
open book.
on this diagram, but in this particular room, if you look at the wall where items number 2 and 12 are, the upper or the left upper corner is B, and if you go straight down towards the kitchen area, that along that wall, that corner is A.
So
I'm figuring out what
when
the
we see
symbols
a
are.
reference measurement from A,
So they're looking at the crime scene, right? Bat, head, wrist. What I'm interested in, I'm like, oh, what's that? Oh, that's a tub. Oh, that's a toilet. Oh, that's a sink. Oh, that's a toilet. That's what I was looking at. Not relevant at all. But anyways,
when we see a reference measurement from A of 21 feet to the bat, we're talking 21 feet this way should be where the bat was?
No, you're talking 21 feet from that corner,
there's the
straight
bat.
line to the bat.
Okay. So whatever the closest measurement or closest way to get there would be.
Correct.
So the bat, it would be something like that.
Correct.
And then when we see reference point B for the bat, then you're talking from this
Bats.
point to the bat?
Correct.
Okay, just so we understand that. When Chandler Police Department goes to a scene like this, do they utilize any type of photography system to help better document a scene so that you can see things more clearly sometimes than with photographs alone?
I can see.
Yes, depending on the scene,
lights are
we would
on.
use a system called the Lizard Queue.
What is Lizard Queue?
Hang on, stop. What? Lizard Q? Okay. What?
A system called the Lizard Queue.
What is
I don't follow
Lizard Queue?
lizards.
It's, in essence, a 360-degree photographic system that you set up on a tripod inside or wherever your location is, inside, outside. And you start the process, and the internal computer for this system specifically takes a set
she's
number
walking.
of pictures where it's overexposed all the way to underexposed, and the images in between. And it does this at various locations along the path to create enough overlapping images. And then those images are stitched together and actually create a 360-degree sphere of the scene.
Did you have to get trained on how to use Lizard Queue?
There was some training involved, yes.
If, again, my paralegal can approach with Exhibit 139, you can take a look at that.
Oh, okay. Let me clarify. Okay, the podium thing. Let me clarify. Because I just saw her walking. If you guys heard me, I was like, wait, she's leaving. Okay, here's what it is. So she can leave the podium to go get shit from the like staging area. I call it, you know, it's where all the documents and stuff are. So here's what it is. She can't approach the witness because Lori can't approach the witness. And that makes sense, right? Think about this, guys. So when it's her case in chief and she's questioning people, think about how bad that could be. I guess you could consider it bad during the state's case in chief, but that's the point. They don't want her going up. So I would imagine then whatever we see her doing, right, Lori's going to have the same rights. So she's able to walk over to the counsel table and get shit. And that means Lori can as well. But clear. So when she's asking for the paralegal, that's why, because she can't approach the witness stand. That makes sense now. Don't be sorry for being chatty. Be like chatty.
Okay.
You recognize a thumb drive that is in Exhibit 139.
Yes.
What is on that thumb drive?
On this thumb drive will be the lizard Q spheres.
And is there a reader on there so that you can actually view it?
Correct.
There's a piece of paper in there as
You're
well. What
welcome.
is that?
The piece of paper is a set of instructions on how to use the lizard Q viewer so that you can view the spheres.
And did you initially
Amazing. I've never
the
heard of Lizard Q.
thumb drive to indicate that you had viewed it and you recognize that as the lizard Q that you created on July 11th of 2019?
I have,
Or did you actually create that?
I created the thumb drive.
And that's your thumb drive that you put it onto?
Yes.
State will move to admit Exhibit 139.
Any objection?
We can bump him up.
No objection, Your Honor.
139. 's
Great, Lori. Great.
Judge, At this
Wonderful.
point, might I ask the witness to come down here to utilize the lizard Q? I can sit at the
Ooh,
table,
boy.
but it needs to be put.
Here he
So if you
comes.
can insert that.
Just insert it.
Yeah, thank you.
Just insert it, guys. Just the tip. Just the tip.
I might have to log in. I just might have to log into my computer, sorry.
Oh my God. I swear these, I know I just have to log in. Oh wait, dude.
All right. Can you talk us through, so you've opened the thumb drive to where that's at. How do you get to viewing this program?
So first, you'll have to double click on.
Hold on one sec, I'm sorry, we're waiting for it to. Yes, the USB is in that laptop up there on the podium. There,
So first you need to double click on the lizardqviewer.exe so it can open it up. And then it's going to ask you where to look for the spheres. I think that's going to be. And then you just double click on the sphere you choose to open up and it will open it up for you.
can you make that larger so we can?
Waiting for it to respond.
Got it. Okay,
So once you have the sphere open, you want me to just.
yeah, if you can just tell us how to work that first, and then we'll ask a few questions.
So once you have the sphere open, if you depress the left mouse button, you can actually move the images around. Without depressing the mouse button, you can zoom in and you can zoom out with the scrolling wheel. If you depress the right mouse button and use the scrolling wheel, this will darken or lighten your sphere. It will give you the ability to.
You know, what'd be nice
look
is if we could
outside
see what he's looking at.
as opposed to just the photographs washing it out normally so you can see inside. With this particular program, you can open up multiple windows, but you'll really only be able to view one at a time, but you can go back and forth.
Are they going through all this because the jury's going to have this ability? Because otherwise, I don't understand what's happening.
So for this sphere that we're looking at, we see Charles Vallow there, correct?
Yes,
And then there's some white cards that we see around the room. What are those?
those are 3x5 cards that officers have dropped in the scene. A lot of times they'll do that to help identify to detectives items that they observed and to be a warning to other officers to watch out for these items as you're either moving through or exiting the scene.
Is the Lizard Q program then used prior to
Lizard
scene
Q.
being documented? And let me say this. We saw in your diagram, Exhibit 5, that there were little yellow placards or numbered items. Is that something that's actually done in the scene? So we were looking at the bat, for instance.
Correct. So in this particular
Thanks.
moment in
I literally, you just read my mind. I literally was just thinking this because they didn't say. It seems like it should be, but what I will say is this: in the Ezra McCandless trial, that was some of the coolest shit ever with the dude they had who did it. There was a Pharaoh scan, but I was literally just thinking, is this comparable or similar to the program they used in that case? Because they showed it, and it was so cool. But it was like they had the Pharaoh scan of the crime scene, but then they could go and switch from like different modes, and like literally you could ask, like he would ask him like, okay, switch it to this, and it was like so fucking super cool. I'll have to see if I can just show you guys as an example if I can find it. But Like that, I literally was just thinking that because this is really unclear what word they're looking at, and we can't see it. And I just don't know. It's a shame though, because like it's an opportunity to really learn a lot and like see things in all the different ways.
We just merely left it with the placards there. Again, it was attempting to capture the scene as we as an investigative unit found it. There can be times that we'll do this first and eventually go through putting evidence placards down and then maybe do another sphere showing all the evidence placards.
So would it be fair to say that this is done to document the scene prior to police going through and having maybe digging through areas to find potential evidence?
Right. It's much like when we do overall photographs with the 35mm camera. This is just another enhancement of that.
For this room where we see Mr. Vallow, do we have two different spheres?
Yes, in this particular room, I did a lower sphere and then I raised it on the tripod that you can see in it to another height. And then I did a sphere there. So we have a program that we can combine those and make it a measurement sphere. So we could do measurements linear, but not to and from the camera because of its limitations.
So what is provided here is without measurements
That is correct.
and without anything being marked yet.
Aside from the 3x5 parts.
Can you show us the lower level sphere as well?
This is the lower level.
Okay, then the upper level one, sorry.
As you can see, your point of view has changed a little bit, but the room has remained the same.
This is really stupid. Why can't we see it?
And that's all using the same initial placement of that tripod, but just moving the camera height up higher or lower?
Correct. The tripod has the ability to elevate to the platform that the camera is actually on.
All right, thank you. Connor, could I have the witness go back to the?
Yes.
Thank you. I'm gonna turn this for now.
I know, right? Yeah, I'll show you guys. Okay, I'll show you guys. Okay, I'm going to show you guys what I don't know what the fuck they were looking at because they didn't just dumbness. But I'm going to show you guys what I was talking about and what the potential possibilities are here. So, all right. So it doesn't matter if you don't have to know anything about the case. It doesn't matter. The point is to see what a program that's, I'm wondering if this is what he's talking about. We just don't know, but like how they can take so this is going back and forth between like the actual crime scene photos and like the Pharaoh scan and then the different modes. And it's really sick. So you guys will love it.
We were talking mouse and is where we are currently located in the scene.
Okay.
And the green item to the side, is that trailer we were talking about?
Yes.
All right. Can you, with this, can you move around them to see different
This is so cool.
portions of it?
Yes, I can.
And how do you do that?
Just by clicking the mouse and moving around through the scene.
Okay. Let's go back, turn a little bit. I want you to go back to the trailer. So we're looking at the trailer kind of flat on as best you can. Okay. There were 2 evidence markers on there, I believe, correct?
Yes.
All right. Can you,
They're just going to talk about the blood. I'm going to skip past that because that's doesn't pertain to what we're looking at. We're just
angle to get it from?
So because I can't see where the actual evidence is, I can see where the stickers are. The measurements will be between from the center of the sticker to the center of the next sticker. 15?
It's 14. They're 13 and 14.
Whoa, look at that.
13.
Yeah, they measured it. Whoa.
Can you also then, does this also show the vehicle itself?
Yes, it does.
All right, can you scroll around to the vehicle or turn around to the vehicle?
So you can see him using it. I love this.
And
Amazing.
so it also shows then the various other evidence markers that are located out there.
Correct.
Now, are you able to, as part of this, can we see the tracks of the vehicle and what happened with the vehicle as far as it getting stuck?
Okay, he's going to switch modes here. I
Sure,
think.
there's some several different things that we can do here to see kind of near the center a little bit on the bottom. You can see some disturbed ground. I can zoom in a little bit, which appears
There we go.
kind of got washed out a little bit from our backlight that we had at the scene. There was virtually no light out there, so we had to bring in supplemental lighting.
Okay. Is there a way that you can get it to see
Here.
it a little bit more clearly?
Here, watch.
Yes, we can turn off the pictures basically and move it into a grayscale intensity so we
Yes,
can see that.
ABCs. Look, y'all, you guys are seeing this, right? So, the McStay, I don't know that trail. So the official saying this is so cool, like the Google car. That's yeah, she drew all over her car, and it allows you to walk around the crime scene Yep, it sure does. And you can view it in all these different ways. It is so cool. And it's all accurate to scale. I mean, it's epic, right?
Turn off the color into a grayscale.
Mm-hmm.
And so
It's
now
so cool.
when the
I don't think I've ever seen anything like this in a trial where they combine all of it. They combine the crime scene photos, like the Pharaoh and like all this shit. It's so cool. I've never seen this
on
done.
the color off, are you just looking at what the laser scanner did itself versus with the pictures that it takes?
It's a kind of a combination of both, but you're seeing more of the laser scanner than you are of the picture.
All right. And so what does it tell you and what does it show you as far as the tire marks at that point?
I'm gonna go ahead.
Trooper, if you can try to speak a little bit.
Get to
I
more
believe I arrived right away.
Was that 10? Most of the
It can't scan directly.
the picture. Sorry, graphic image warning.
and basically scale that scene.
Correct.
All right. Can you zoom in on, does it show any, are you able to observe any footprints in this?
I'm gonna go
scan?
ahead a little
Some
bit.
of those
There's another cool thing here coming up, I think. If I remember. I'm surprised I remember it this well. This is-
understand it.
There we go.
Things were the way that
Grayscale, so I can eliminate my
Oh,
backlighting.
yeah, cool. See?
We can see that there are some tire marks
Dude.
here.
I love that you can see their lights and stuff they have. And here in a second, you'll even see the crime scene people. It's just so, I don't know. I just love everything about this.
That do run along back up towards 430th Avenue.
See, right there. You can see the crime scene people, but he just spins around. It's like Google Earth or Street View or whatever, where you get to just spin around and do, but like everything is better. Like this is, you see what I mean? You like watch how he just spins around with the mouse because you can see his mouse in the middle of the screen there. Watch.
That do run along back up towards
Look.
430th Avenue.
Isn't that so cool though? I love it. I love it. Amazing.
And here we can see some tire marks leading up to the vehicle.
This is, I just blows my mind. No, it's not. So the green lasers were added to show the shot trajectory, and that dude was an absolute clown of a, yeah. So he added the green lasers. That dude added the green lasers. Pharaoh was used to map out the crime scene. That's not the green lasers. The green lasers were added by Mike Sutton, who's the dude who said it was 5'2" ninja assassins. So yeah, it's a panorama. Yeah. So there you go. So we can go back to Lori's trial, but and actually that works out because now we can watch it at like 1.25. But hopefully you guys enjoyed that. I love it. I think it's super cool. And any of us trial nerds, I mean, you know, isn't that just, it's like, don't we wish we had that at every crime scene, you know? So
Although that documents what the scene looked like
Here's
we
this
saw
dude.
prior to the marking of evidence, as a scene agent, do you still utilize photographs?
100% yes.
Why?
It's just an added fail-safe. The lizard queue can, if you do the lizard queue, then you're restricted to just the view from where that camera is at. When we do overall photography, we actually move around and get it from different perspectives. This is just another tool in the ability to show what the scene looked like.
I wish we knew what it looked
Do
like.
you also photograph rooms where the lizard queue was not used?
Yes.
When you photograph a scene, what is the process for that?
I'm not sure I understand.
Sure. When you enter a scene as a scene agent and you are looking at one like this, do you just go into the room where this person is and just photograph that area and that's it?
No, we would photograph the entire place to document it. The lizard queue, because of the volume that it takes, and not necessarily
Now here's what I
information
will
that
say. If in the Ezra McCandless trial or any trial, if anybody ever said lizard queue, I would have remembered it because obviously lizards. So, you know, again, that's why it might be something similar. But what I will say is, you know, what we just saw, the great example we just saw, that they did not call that lizard queue.
would require the setup of a seer, then we will just stick with the crime scene photos for those particular rooms.
Okay. So I can have my paralegal approach with exhibits 6 through 138.
I love this judge though. Are we going to get into some like actual, no, not yet. Okay. I love being able to skip through the downtime, don't you guys? There's a lot of it. So he's looking through all these. There must be a lot of exhibits. Okay, these are all the crime scene photos. That's why. And there's a
All
bunch.
those photos.
Okay.
Yes, I do.
Do they accurately depict 5531 South Four Peaks Place, both before and during and after processing it?
Yes, through various stages of the investigation.
Your Honor, if I can have those shown to the defendant.
Yep.
Oh, great.
items of evidence that you're going to take with you?
Sure, it depends on the type of physical evidence, what the circumstances of the offense are. So the type of collection method can vary, but inevitably we'll identify it first, then we'll document it with photographs, and then we will come up with a plan that we're going to recover the evidence. And typically on scenes, I like to work in a particular direction collecting evidence. Others have their own method, but that's the method I typically use. And then I work along with the crime scene tech, and we'll go through exactly what we talked about. We'll have the overall pictures taken. We identify things that we believe are going to be relevant, and then we'll, for identification purposes, we'll usually affix some form of
You know,
evidence
what's so
tag, a
crazy
marker.
about it, like a brain level, like, you know what I mean? Like, you know what's so crazy is this? There could be things that are relevant that you never know are relevant, right? Like, I mean, it could just, I'm just thinking about this, like, like they identify things that they think are relevant. It's like, well, I mean, I don't know, just, it makes you wonder, like, how many things do we not ever learn about from these different cases because nobody recognized at the time that they were important, but they were important. I mean, it might not be, I'm not talking about obviously blood splatter or shit like that, right? I'm talking about something else that that an officer or a detective on the scene wouldn't look at and think, oh, that's important, right? But as we know, in all these different cases, there is something like that usually ends up coming out at some point, but that's like, who knows how much more of it there is, you know what I mean?
Or things along those lines.
What?
Not all items are actually taken. Some are actually just documented because it's impractical to remove certain things, such as a slab of concrete or something like that. So depending on the situation. So after it's documented, first with photograph, placard, photographed again, and then we will collect it. If DNA is an issue, the crime scene tech will be the one that'll take care of the method for doing it, and they will take the protective measures, whether they do gloves, swapping gloves out, or they do face masks, depending upon the nature of the evidence. If it's super DNA critical, then we will pull all the precautions out. In this particular case, it was not DNA critical.
Yeah, I can give an example. For example, in the Murdoch trial with the hose, right? So the picture of the hose was only, they only had that because the hose happened to be located next to the dogs. And that was next to the feed room. So like they took a picture of the crime scene, right? Whoever was first on the scene, they took a picture of the crime scene, and naturally they took a picture of the feed room door, right? Because that's where the body was found. Here's where the body was found, like literally, right? And it's like, they did not know at that time though, that hose was going to be vitally important, but it was. And how the hose was put up was vitally important. And there would have been no way to know that, right? If they hadn't been able to preserve it in a picture. Now, let's just imagine this. Let's just imagine that the hose was vitally important. It was put back the wrong way and all that. But let's just say that the hose was located somewhere else, not near the body or where a body was found, and not in anywhere where, you know what I mean? No one would have looked at that hose and been like, oh, that hose is important. No one would have thought that, right? But yeah, it was so crucial. But the only reason it was preserved in terms of how the hose was put up was because they happened to take a picture, not for the hose, but for the body, the location of Paul's body. So that's just like one example I can think of off the top of my head where it's like, they would not have known that was important. There's no way they would have known that was important. So yeah.
Wear like gloves or anything like that when you are collecting these items of evidence?
Absolutely.
And are you using them and changing them to ensure, for instance, you don't transfer blood from one item onto another?
Right. And typically that's what our crime scene techs will do. We will direct the method or the order we're going to collect, and then we'll go through that. And they'll be the ones that'll photograph. They'll change the gloves, place it in the envelope. Typically it's a paper envelope. And then we'll move on to the next item and repeat the method.
So in this case, I'll put 5 back up if I can have the Elmo. Thank you.
Elmo! Go Elmo. Go Elmo. We love the Elmo.
What was your process for how you wanted to go through this home in reviewing, collecting the evidence?
So for this particular method, I chose to work from the north towards the south, collecting as we went. Item 1 being the hat, which is at the north end of the room. And then it was kind of a toss up between 2 and 3. So I just decided to go ahead and go for 2, and then we would work our way down from there.
Why the heck?
This diagram north
Like,
is,
why are they showing us this dumbness, but like not the good shit? If it was good, hoping it was good, right? You know, like the lizard cue. Anyway,
up this direction.
It's to the left of the image, yes.
And so in the photographs that you're taking of these individual items, do you see those placards or something that shows a 1?
Yes.
Now you talk about in this that there are scenes where you may have difficulty collecting an item. In this scene, did you actually cut out some pieces of evidence to bring back with you.
Yes, and that's why you'll see numbers higher than what was originally in the room associated to those items.
When you are processing a scene, do you always know what may be relevant or not relevant?
Ah,
Not always immediately.
aha.
Is that one of the reasons why the entire residence is photographed instead of just what appears to be relevant here in that one room?
Correct.
So that later, if anyone wants to look at another room, that's been documented adequately.
Right.
When you're going through a house, even though you walk in and you see Charles Vallow on the ground there, are you still checking all of the rooms to see if there could potentially be something of evidence there?
Well, certainly, I'm no stranger to not having all of the information initially when I show up. So I will go through and I'll look at the residence to see if there's anything that actually stands out immediately. And maybe I'll be able to ask a few questions of whoever's doing the interviews to see if there's any relevance to it.
So are you looking for instance, any bloody items?
That would be important.
Are you looking for any projectiles or anything else that might be not in this room?
Certainly. Well, it's passed through walls.
Are you looking for any evidence that might be related to this individual, Charles Vallow, like wallets or things like that that might have been left somewhere in the house?
Yeah, anything that could properly identify who was or may have been present at the time.
And that's sort of all those photographs as well.
Correct.
At the outside of the home.
Yes, we will typically start at the outside and work our way in and carefully avoid the items of evidence that have been readily made identifiable.
So exhibit 6 here, what are we seeing here?
So this would be the front of the residence. It faces west, and we're looking at the main entrance that's just off to the right of the closed single garage door, and that door is open.
Outside.
Counter, we're gonna have to object. We haven't agreed to admit any of these pictures that are being posted.
Oh my God.
I did show them. The state will move to admit exhibits, 6 through 38.
Okay, credit where credit is due. I have to say this. I can't believe Lori caught that. She caught that. I have seen trials where there's attorneys that seem to not catch it, because I will say that sometimes I'll catch something like that, and other times the judge might catch something like that, and it's just a simple mistake, right? She didn't need to lodge an objection there. I'm still going to put it on my banner, but like basically, normally what they'll say is like, these aren't in evidence yet. They didn't move to admit them. So the objection, she got that part wrong. But the fact that she noticed it and said something, I have seen plenty of people make that mistake because they're not paying attention. So credit where credit is due. Dude, she's taking this shit seriously, man.
138.
Any objection?
Some of them, I mean, they're
Oh,
very
what?
similar, and I don't think that they all need to be put on there.
Okay, Lori. Okay. Well, see, now she's just losing credit. Cumulative is what she's looking for. And now you can actually say that you can object. Now you object. You object cumulative.
So your objection is that some of them are cumulative?
Thank you. There it is. See, I know things, people. I know things.
Let me
I
see.
know
What
things.
numbers?
Yeah, which number?
Did y'all hear that? Yay.
6 through what?
138.
See, he
Do you have
fixed it.
specific ones that you believe are cumulative?
He did what I did. He was like, so you're saying your objection is that it's cumulative. Dude, that's funny.
Yeah, I'd have to go back through to get them specifically. I have some.
Well, let me browse them.
Okay, well, we're probably going to be caught up live then at this juncture. Yeah, I figured it's good. The judge is looking at all the pictures. This could be a while, guys. Well, they just got back from lunch. I was going to say take a break because he's got to look at all these pictures and decide what's cumulative. So. Let me just.
We can see in this then the hat with the placard of 1.
Now we're caught up.
Correct.
So when we are looking at your
This
diagram,
one's
exhibit
here.
5, and we see the 1, that's what that's referring to.
Correct.
Exhibit 14, can you tell us our perspective of what we're looking at here?
So you're standing in roughly the northwest corner of the room, just
Got it.
down from the entryway, and you're looking south.
So we start to see some of those white cards there, is this before you have added in the yellow placards?
Correct. This would have been part of the overall photographic effort.
So when we're looking at this house, I'm going to put up Exhibit 15. Can you describe for us this wall here? Sort of, can you go all the way around
Thank you,
that?
Miss Mandy.
So that wall with the mirror itself is blocking where the kitchen is. There's an entrance to the kitchen to the right of that wall. And again, you could get to the kitchen through the left opening as well, but I think there's also like a family room by that area.
Oh my God, did they seat 12 jurors? Did that just happen? We've been here all day, and I've been regularly checking, and last I saw there, so they got 12 jurors. Did that happen? Well, okay, well they need 16, right? It says opening statement scheduled for Tuesday. Well, how do they know if they don't have? Oh, because they have 12. I get it. Right. Okay. Interesting. Okay.
But it's
So they
open.
need
One
more
could
alternates.
walk
They need
through
alternates.
either of these ways and come around back out the opposite door.
Yes.
Okay. So Exhibit 16, we see Charles as he lay when fire has left him at this point.
Correct.
So the items we see on him, we've heard of them cutting his shirt and things like that. This is you documenting how he was when you started to come into the scene
Correct.
after fire's
And
already
next
treated
Tuesday,
him
they're going
and
to start.
determined he was deceased.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, I figured that out after. I asked
Over
the question.
here, we start to see an area. What is right over there?
So just past that most southern index card is a hallway that extends to a bathroom and I believe at least 2 bedrooms.
Looking sort of to the north, what is this hallway here?
So now we're just looking north past the entryway. You can see the hat in the right part of the image there. And that would lead up to the master bedroom garage.
When you are looking at a scene like this, where you have a shooter, are you wanting to document all the different views of the items and the victim where they lay in the scene?
Yes, it's important to establish where things were at when we found them.
Now, are you able to tell us, for instance, if a casing rolled or a bullet rolled as fire is there or initial officers coming through? yourself?
Having not been present to see it, I would not be able to tell you if any item happened to have been manipulated.
Does 19 show us part of that hallway that we're
So
talking
guys,
about?
I hate to say it, but I need to go get ready for some lessons. So we are on this dude. So what we will do is we will finish watching the rest of this day. We actually got further than I thought we would. So when we do the recap tonight, it'll be starting with this dude and we're already after the lunch session. So so what we'll probably have time for then is to watch the Tylee and Alex interviews as well. But if they're, depending on, I'll have to take a look and see. I might be able to also do some Karen Reed maybe beforehand, but we'll see. But yeah, we will finish recapping. And when I say recapping, it's really, we'll watch the rest of the day tonight. So I don't have that set up yet, but I'll set up that stream. And then tomorrow night, like I said earlier today, like tomorrow night, we'll be doing Kohberger, obviously. And then we will, we'll see what we can do with, might be able to cover some Lori as well. We'll have to just sort of see. We'll just have to sort of see. Because that's going to be, those motions limiting are going to be the priority. And if we need to sort of catch up with Lori over the weekend, you know, that will be what we do. But we might be able to, get a good amount done anyway, like during the morning with Lori, you know, and then just have only a little bit left. Like what we're going to have now. This is going to be not that much left for tonight. So, so yeah, so we will do that. And I'll check out the new stuff for Karen Reed. And Shannon Gardner had a hearing today and there's some new documents there, but it's not like a whole lot of stuff. So we'll do that we'll catch up on that a little bit later, maybe on over the weekend or something like that. It's not a what's the right word, urgent situation with that, but just sort of staying up to speed. So yes, but you guys are all awesome. I love you guys so much. School crew is the best. We will see each other here soon. And well, if I'm waiting in between students or whatever, I might pop in to other channels and say hi in the chat, as I want to do, because I know this is still going to be going on. But anyway, we will be back later tonight. But for now, I love you guys. Y'all are the best, and squirrel out.